Are we going with blue for Sylas? Yeah.
Blue and yellow. See? I figured out how to split the colors.
Ooh, look at you. Shit.
He's real fancy.
You know, I'm kind of a big deal.
A little bit, yeah. We good?
I think so.
Yep. Hello, lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about the Unshackled Sylas, who was released January 25th, 2019.
It's kind of a tongue twist.
Feels like an eternity.
It does, right?
Feel like an eternity.
Yeah, I think because I hate him so much. Not his character, but in game. I hate playing against Sylas. He's one of my, top 10 worst nightmares.
You don't like him healing, his entire health bar when he's this tiny, there's a pixel of health, and then it's like, uh-oh, you fucked up. You left me with 1 HP.
You've unleashed my final form.
Yeah, he really is like a Dark Souls boss. I feel like.
I can see that.
Never ending. Yeah, well, Sylas has a crap ton of lore to go through.
He does.
Do we want to do our best bad British accent impressions here?
You bet.
Oh, joy.
I always forget he has a British accent. I think because we're American, I associate British accents with a love interest from a 90s rom-com. Hugh Grant.
I can see him
that
as
seems
a love
specific
interest from a
to you,
90s
I will
rom-com.
say.
You know what, Mark? Ask your wife what she associates a British accent with. She'll say Pride and Prejudice.
Or Monty Python.
Or Monty Python, right. Which is a rom-com in itself, in a way. Okay.
Who's gonna
by the way, when I read that first quote you wrote down, I thought it was a shepherd with no fucks is what it says. I was like, oh my god, they're dropping F-bombs. Okay. Oh god, British. A shepherd with no flock is just an idiot with a stick. I messed up the quote. I'm sorry. I fucked it up really bad. You know what? We'll cut that one. you know what? No, we're not. That was my good. I should do my bat when I'm doing D&D.
Yeah,
I
right.
decided to just be British, right?
Imagine you just rolled a nice 3. And how do you? Okay. Sylas sounds like no more kings, no more queens, no more Mageseekers.
Nice.
Shit like that.
Yeah.
A murder of crows. You know, for murder.
Nice. That was great. Murder.
A murder most foul. Oh, that's not Sylas.
Here's what went wrong with my impression. I'm thinking about it still.
We're going to do a review. Okay. What went good? What can we do better? And action items, right?
I was so scared to
compliment sandwich.
The bad British accent.
You were beautiful when you did it. It wasn't great.
No, John!
You did a great recovery.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I was also trying to sound like an angry man is the thing. And it was it was too many things. Angry and man and British. That was a lot of things to focus on for me. Whoa. You only had to do angry and British.
Well, Mark only had to do angry and British.
You always had to come in with your highest pitch. All right, Hulk. Anyway, on the universe page, he has linked the bio, Mageseeker trailer, the Lux comic, and 3 short stories are all linked. There is also another short story that is very much about more Sylas than 2 of these other. It's the most Sylas.
It's only Sylas.
Sylas out of all of them. Is so important, the best one by far, and it's not the one linked. I can't fathom why, but we'll talk about it.
They only have so many links they can include on the universe page. If you add 4 short stories, the whole shit breaks.
Well, take 2 of these off and put them on Heimerdinger's page or something. There's something else going on there.
Fuck it, right? Little lost and found box of lore is the Heimerdinger page. Ooh, there's a Sylas story in here.
Right? When you finally add Cythria as a character eventually, just add all these to her page.
I know.
She's got enough stories at this point that she has more universe stories than most of our characters.
Oh my god, that's true.
You're so fucking right. That's fucked up.
I think aside from the last 2 Void Champions, if you combined all of the Void Champions short stories, I think Cytherea has more.
I think that girl got a fucking novella, okay?
Right?
Like, she's styling on.
It's called Garen. It should be called Cytherea.
But no one knows who that is yet.
Legitimately, I feel bad. I keep forgetting who she is. I was reading this story and I was like, Cytherea. I know the name's ringing a bell.
She's a generic POV character, is what she is. You know?
I did remember it was Garen Firstshield. Although I went on Goodreads and looked up Garen Firstshield. At no point is Cytherea mentioned in the description of the novella. This is about... Anyway, Sylas...
Yet another injustice of Demacia.
Fucking Demacia, dude. Sylas was a normal mage in Demacia, which means he was in big, big trouble. His parents were assholes, so when they realized that their son was a mage, they convinced him to turn himself into the Mageseekers. Sylas could sense magic in others, though, so the Mageseekers had him join them in searching for hidden mages. He was very lonely there because he could only communicate with like the 2 Mageseekers that were in charge of him, who were like grown-ass men and assholes as well. And right. You'll kind of quickly see that they just saw him as a tool. One of them was a bit nicer, but truly deep down, like, Sylas, you're still just a mage to him. Anyway, but Sylas was young, felt like this was his way of having a good future. Eventually, Sylas was noticing that magic was way more common than Demacia was letting on. And a lot of powerful Demacians even had contact with it, but it was all the poor families, that, like Sylas's, that paid the price. One day, Sylas and his handlers were going after a mage who was hiding in the country. We'll get this in a short story, because they really gloss over a lot in the bio here, and I really had no idea what was going to... It's rough. Anyway, it was a young girl and Sylas wanted to protect her. He accidentally touched her and realized like what his power actually is and that it's borrowing magic from others. He ended up accidentally killing like everyone on the scene.
Oops, all death.
Yeah, oops, all murder. He all murdered them. It wasn't murder, I guess. It was a child. It was an oops.
Oops, all manslaughter.
Oops, all manslaughter. He oops, all manslaughtered them and then went on the run because he knew... he was not going to be able to explain this one away. But he was caught pretty fast and got a life sentence, even though he was so young. He was imprisoned and chained with Petricite for 15 years. And that's when Luck started visiting him and bringing him books that are not for children.
Fucking War and Peace.
That is still my favorite. It's so good. One of them was about Petricite, and Sylas learned that it doesn't suppress magic, it absorbs it. So his plan was to use it to absorb Lux's magic and escape, but her family found out that she was visiting him, so she couldn't come anymore, and Sylas was sentenced to death for this.
She's like, can't go over to his house after school.
Right?
They can't hang out.
Let's come out and play.
No, and also, we're going to kill you now. Just for asking.
On order of one Tiana Crown Guard, I will add... Just another tally in the Tiana Crown Guard column.
She's the worst. And also, I'm so hashtag Team Sylas at this point. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. Lux went to his execution to plead for his life, but Sylas was able to take her magic and escape. He didn't oops. It was all murder everyone except for Lux there, which is just lovely. He's like now gaining some followers, other escaped mages who want revenge. Valid. Now he's in the Freljord searching for ancient elemental magic with the plan of returning to Demacia and wreck shit. The end.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I will say, I mean, obviously we'll get into this a bit later, but I do like how we get a lot of his goals in the bio, and a lot of his stories are like a continuation of his goals
and fleshing out things that we read about in a way that makes it all so much more gut-wrenching. Like I think reading in the bio that the mages used him to take out other mages, you could be like, oh, that's sad, but then when you're following this little boy and he's being put in these situations like this, it's fucking devastating.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what we want from champions, at least champions like him, where it's like enough stories to really, like you said, fill things out, some continuation of what he wants to do. Like, at least Sylas so satiated from the narrative perspective. I'm like, I've had a big feast of Sylas. He's all in my belly and I'm full. I don't want any more. I'm not like sitting here like, oh man, I wish we had this or I wish we had that. I'm like, nah, it's all pretty good. You know, I'm happy.
He just wants a belly full of Sylas.
Right? Fill me up. Stuffed by Sylas. What can I say? Yeah.
That's the stories Lux is writing now.
You sucked out my magic.
Heyo. Yeah, I know.
Just kept getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I know. We spiraled downward very quickly.
That's the hashtag League of Lords.
I think it's for that reason. It's almost hard to talk about the bio because it's like, what are we gonna say? Because we're gonna get into a lot of this shit in the story. It's like the bio is just doing its job. It's just like, here's the quick, the quick and dirty, right?
Yeah. I guess what I'll say just about Sylas in general, because I did actually write down some problems I have. Now, I think it's all very well done, but problems I have are similar to problems that I have with Xaereth and him just being kind of painted as pure evil. They're definitely doing a better job with acknowledging why Sylas is where he is, whereas Xaereth is just a big bad man, and they never address the fact that he was enslaved. But it kind of reminds me of this post on Tumblr where it showed a bunch of characters from shows and then it said underneath, you're a radical leftist freedom fighter that the narrative has chosen to turn into a terrorist so the protagonist can learn the horrors of radicalism and choose moderate reform instead. Our light just went out. It'll come back.
Oh, fuck.
But anyway, that's...
Riot's about to raid your house.
It just heard me. I don't know. I like where Sylas is. It's so hard to put my feelings into words here in this... this idea of we need more peace, and after seeing everything he's been through, I don't know. Does anybody know where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Sylas is very much. You mentioned that he's kind of painted as a terrorist and everything, and I think with anyone else who's painted as a terrorist, your perspective of Sylas is 100% going to change depending on whose eyes you're looking at him through.
That's true. Yeah. Which is very well done.
Yeah, if you're looking at him through Garen, he's an unredeemable terrorist who's kind of Jarvan. He's just a pure asshole who's torn down what they've built or worked so hard to build. Whereas Lux is more in the middle, man, we did you dirty, but also the fuck, man, come on. And Sylas no, you did me dirty. All of this is justified.
Yeah,
for you fucked me so hard.
I think that's the mark. This is Riot's this is them putting their best foot forward in terms of hey, we're gonna try and tell a nuanced, complex story, right?
Yeah,
and it's not gonna be clear cut. And I really applaud them for the effort and the attempt. I think they completely are going to backpedal it, as we'll talk about when we get to the Mageseeker talk, I guess. I think Riot said, we're going to pull our hands out of that fucking blender. I don't want any fucking part of that. But everything that's on, Universe, it's like you said, there is... You can have arguments about, Sylas and shit like that, which is just... That's what true. I want. Because, I think... With how I've seen him depicted, I do think at his core he is an asshole, right? But he is also in that way he's the product of his environment and his rate. He's the product of his raisin, right? He can't help the way he is, and it's not his fault. And at the same time, he is still wrong at the core of a lot of things.
Yeah, he's a dick. I don't blame him for being a dick. If I was in his situation, I would be a dick.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
He's still a dick.
Yeah, but that's.
I guess where I'm at mentally, just in the world, in our actual world, is that I'm done taking it easy. You know what I mean? I'm done trying to be peaceful. I get more where he's coming from, and also I guess he's a product of his raising. He wasn't raised at all. He was literally alone in the dark for 15 years.
I guess that's what I mean by raisin.
Be worse. Right. He's eating raisins now.
Should we turn that light back on?
Sure.
I don't know. I kind of like it. This is what Sylas is going through, right?
Oh, okay, I love it.
It's up to y'all. If y'all want to not be in the dark.
We can't see our faces. Can you see us?
Oh yeah, y'all are totally fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
We are being lit by your blinding monitor.
Hell yeah.
Dope.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I like it.
Anyway, I don't know. I would just join Sylas's team and kill people, I guess is where I'm at.
If this was
I'm also pro-Noxus, so maybe
I mean, he probably found a home there, you know? Like, I mean, it's...
Silas, not pro-Noxus, actually.
Ooh.
I don't remember. Are you taking that from champion quotes or like...
champion quotes and...
so what's his problem with Noxus?
Insights, kind of, the AMA.
Oh, okay.
The team.
I'm not fully pro Noxus, by the way. Got a lot of problems with them, too.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see about the AMA stuff. And the champion quotes I only kind of like half remembered. But yeah, I mean, also I think some of what you're feeling, Rebecca, might also come from the fact that they've chosen to tell a story that has a lot of like one-to-one fidelity with real-world issues and conflicts and problems, which can be very compelling and very like... It can sometimes be, it's like, oh, this is like a step up from some old bullshit we get in other league lore. But if you're going to do that, you got to do it well. You got to tell that story well. Otherwise, you're going to fall. It's like you're teetering on the knife's edge, and you can fall into one way or you can fall in the other way, and kind of fuck it up real bad. And then people get really mad because it's like, hey, this reminds me a lot of shit that's happening IRL. And you've told a story that's sending a very bad message, or a message that like I find very personally... I don't know, fucked up, or I disagree with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. All
right. Well, that's his bio.
That's his bio. His full name is Silas Dregborn, and I feel like he really had no chance with a last name like that.
He's named
to be fair, it's not really his last name. Like, he doesn't have a last name because he's lowborn. Yeah. So they just give him the place he was born as his last name, and the place he was born is Dregborn.
Yeah,
so trying to get that unobtainium.
Silas Poortown. Oh no. What are you, solo? Oh my god. All right. Okay, so how do we want to pick this apart? Do we want to go in terms of like timeline,
like timeline,
which is kind of something we normally do it.
Sure,
let's do timeline. I think that I didn't actually write them in timeline order, but I think that would be Turmoil, right?
I assume Silas as a child, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably Demacian.
I gave the wrong one.
Demacian Heart probably be the first one.
Oh, I did write him in order.
He knows what's going on, everybody. No worries. I didn't write down any of. I also only have one monitor. So I'm kind of doing this from memory. So I don't remember who wrote this, and I won't remember names, but I remember what happened because I read them a lot.
Philip Vargas wrote this one.
Okay. That's a name that's familiar to me. I remember liking Vargas's stuff. So yeah, it's told from Silas's perspective when he was a child and a member of the Mageseekers, and they were using him to kind of sniff out other mages. And they're going down to South Demacia. They're like going down to like whatever the equivalent of like the Appalachian like mountains are. They literally call them hill folk, right? It's they gotta go down to the hill folk now because they're doing some bullshit. So they're down the hill folk, and the hill folk have been growing these flowers that I guess have medicinal purposes. And he is traveling along with two Mageseekers. One is a bit older and one's a bit younger, and it seems like the younger one is more kind to him, like you said, Rebecca. But they've come there to sniff out a mage because the flowers should not be able to be grown at this time of year. It's like winter. But they've been growing them and training them and selling them, and they kind of confront these hill folk. The hill folk come out, and they got their shotguns and their axes and stuff, and they're kind of... stand opposite these Mageseekers, and Silas can see very clearly the magic that's emanating from one of these hill folk, and essentially they try and take this kid. So there's like this old woman who's like the matriarch of this town and is kind of speaking for everybody, and they try and take this her son, and when they try and stop him, he starts using his magic. He's like a plant mage, we'll say, a nature mage. We'll take from Mageseeker, and so he's able to like cast, like have thorns emanate from his arm when they try and grab him, or like shoot thorny vines from his hand when they try and get a hold of him. But they hit him in the head with a fucking quarterstaff and then set him on fire. That was kind of an accident. To be fair, it was an accident, but they did let him burn to death, I guess.
They did just let him burn to death.
They could have helped him out, but no.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan was even if he had resisted, but they had restrained him, if they were just going to take him back to Demacia. I don't know, but they just let him burn.
I assume so, but yeah.
Yeah. During the scuffle, the younger Mageseeker, he gets pricked by some of those thorns on the arm, and it seems fine. Everything seems chill. And then later on, they're traveling. Sylas is kind of like up at night doing the first watch, and it's kind of pathetic. He's like, well, at least I get to see all of this, these mountains and all this new land that I never would have seen before. This is great.
This poor fucking kid, man. I want to adopt baby Sylas so
baby
bad.
Sylas, fix him, set him on the right path.
Yeah.
But the younger Mageseeker who was pricked is, at first it's like, oh, he's having a bad dream, and then they realize, oh no, some shit is fucked up. We can't wake him up. His eyes are completely pale. He's starting to convulse, and there's some sort of like corruption or affliction going on under his skin. So then they start riding hard for Rinwall, funny enough, and they're trying to get to Rinwall. We also kind of see the relationship between Sylas and this older Mageseeker, is that the older Mageseeker really doesn't kind of like him. He just kind of sees him as a tool, and is like very quickly casts blame on him for this whole thing happening in the first place. They end up at a farmstead where there is an old farmer, and there's a bunch of dead cows, and they're trying to figure out like what the fuck happened here, but also we need help with our friend. Can you please help him? They bring him inside. They start kind of trying to work on him, and nothing's kind of working. And so what they kind of conclude is like, okay, we can maybe use like, I don't know, they like burn shit out of cows, like parasite infestation.
Parasite worms or something. They burn them out of cows with some kind of medicine. Yeah.
So maybe we can cut it out, and then we'll burn out the rest, and that might work. But we need to stay here. Sylas, you go out to the barn and go get the stuff, the whatever. The poultice, and Sylas goes out, and as he's going out, he's getting this sense of like, there's magic here, and he goes into the barn, he's like, there's super magic here, and then some figure steps out, and it's like this blinding light of like this raw like rainbow essence, and it's just a little girl, and apparently that little girl was whatever had happened to them cows, and is the daughter of the farmer who is kind of helping them at the moment. But Sylas is like, I'm not gonna turn you in, chill out. I'm going to take this back in. We're helping my friend inside. They're Mageseekers, so just stay the fuck here. Chill. He goes inside, and the younger Mageseeker is already dead. He took too long. And the older Mageseeker, very quickly after that, kind of cottons on that the old man's lying about the beast. There's obvious signs of a child living here. Confronts him, forces him to kind of tell us where stuff is, and they go out to the barn, and he starts beating the shit out of the farmer, trying to get this girl to come out. And she does, and as the Mageseeker kind of goes in to go, get her, Sylas kind of puts himself between them, and in doing so touches her, and her whatever magic is in her courses through him, and he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He's never done this before, and it's just like, before he knows what's happened, magic explosion essentially, and everyone's dead, and it's just him left, and he's like, well, they're not gonna fucking believe me about this shit.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just go see if I can escape, because at least I know how the Mageseekers work. Apparently he didn't do it good enough, because he got caught.
He doesn't know how they worked quite well enough.
Did anyone else think when they first got to this farm, you see like the cows have been like singed or something, and we don't really know, but clearly magic hasn't been involved. I thought it was Shyvana, actually, as a girl.
I can see that, yeah.
Yes, and that we know she was adopted by a farmer. So I got kind of excited. I was like, oh, are we going to learn more about like her dad? Did Sylas accidentally kill her dad and then she escaped?
That would be so cool. Oh,
that would be cool as
great.
Shit, dude. It's devastating that he killed this little girl mage that he was trying to protect, obviously. I can get the gut wrench of that, but I do kind of like the connection of him meeting Shyvana as a kid and using her magic to kill her dad by accident.
Yeah, that would have been... I almost kind of think that would be more interesting. It would help kind of tie some more characters together, and goddamn, Shyvana needs whatever help she can get, right? So like, let's loop her in more, and that could help maybe explain a little bit more of why she might be more, I don't know, sympathetic to like Jarvan and that type of perspective, because some little
she
mage
saw
kid
what this can do.
Fucked her life up, right? Essentially. You know?
I kept waiting for them to say that she had purple skin, and I was like, okay, Sylas, mention her purple skin, right?
Right. Come on.
She doesn't have purple skin. Oh, she's dead now. I guess it's not Shyvana.
Now I feel for Sylas here, but now the impression I got was that the Mageseeker straight up murdered this girl's dad. I don't think they said it, but they did say that he fucking burst his crown with his cane.
Yeah, absolutely. He totally
and
killed
he
him.
was for sure gonna kill that girl too. So both of them already gonna die. The only one that Sylas actually, killed who wasn't gonna die was the asshole. So like,
That's an interesting tack that you're taking. I don't necessarily agree, but you are right that he did kill the farmer dad. So I'll give you that. That's what I'll give you. The rest I don't know about, but
yeah, this is a really good story though. It's really well written, and the whole process of seeing Sylas traveling with them and just how lonely I don't think he's ever been surrounded by like kids ever in his life. Like he never got to
Probably
be a
not.
kid or
No.
Oh, it's so upsetting.
Which is honestly goes a little bit counter to what we learned in Mageseeker.
Oh yeah?
But
can I like vote that we don't talk about Mageseeker until we talk about Mageseeker, because it is like a complete retcon of so much shit. It is just its own beast, right? Like,
yeah. So one thing too, so we touched on it a little bit with the town that was growing the flowers, but I think like an important thing to note here was obviously they're using magic to grow flowers that are kind of strictly medicinal, which we also find out when the one Mageseeker, because Sylas picks one of them, he's like, oh, this is pretty, I'm going to keep it. When the other Mageseeker is dying, they give him some of the flower because it's such a potent medicine. So the fact that, and the other Mageseeker's like, he's like, oh, is this going to work? Because this was tainted with magic, basically. And the other Mageseeker's like, no, it's fine. All the magic did was like hardier.
Yeah,
so
he's fully admitting.
And I feel like that was another moment where Sylas is like,
hang on,
fuck, man.
Yeah.
Literally, all they're doing is helping people, and like we're gonna fuck them like this,
and literally kill the kid over it.
And
they
then,
also, I think you're about to.
And then when they get to the farmer and they're having a hard time healing him, the asshole Mageseeker who's like, nah, magic bad, is like, hey, is there a healer around here? And the farmer's like, oh no, we don't have any like herbalists or anything. He's like, no, a healer.
The other kind of healer.
I need some medicinal like flour, right, to help my friend.
I need some medicine. my back's been hurting for a while, man. I don't know.
I get anxiety sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So Sylas has straight up gotten to see like all the hypocrisy.
They don't actually. They only dislike magic when it isn't being used to help them. And also, how boring was Demacia that they're sending people like miles away because they're like, you're growing flowers.
It's a good question.
These super helpful flowers aren't supposed to be growing up. We're supposed to be dying this season.
There's like
what the hell?
30 fucking people in that fucking village, dude.
Let them have their moonshine. Like they're not bothering nobody. They got their jug band playing. Just let them be.
Let them go. They're trying to get through the winter. You piece of shit. Go home. Watch. Get a hobby. Read a book, man.
I mean, I don't disagree. But I did really like that moment where he's asking for the healer. I think because I don't remember their names. It starts with a V. Is the asshole Mageseeker we're talking about? I guess I liked it because like there are little moments that humanize him. But he is still villainous, right? Like he does really care for this other Mageseeker. Like he's really trying to comfort him and stuff. And he connects with the farmer about the fact that they used to be soldiers, and he kind of leverages that to get the aid, And I think it's so interesting to me because again, it's like echoing the things we see with Demacia, where it's like people are suffering these very like personal, tragic losses, like Jarvan IV, that then drives them into being like complete dicks. Right, immediately in the wake of it, right? Like, he was more than happy to,
Yeah, and we see people like Garen who are exactly like this Mageseeker. It's like, nah, magic is bad. Fuck the mages, but you, like, you're cool. Like, I'll protect you, sis. But like everyone else,
fuck you,
fuck y'all.
You're cool.
Fuck you, you're cool. Another timely reference from the Lord heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very real though. He was a very real villain, that Mageseeker. Because a lot of people are very hypocritical in the things that they dislike or find evil. A lot of people are really hypocritical in that way. I did like this the Mageseeker who died too. One of the last things he did was make the evil Mageseeker tell Sylas that this wasn't his fault. He literally is like, tell the boy that I'm not dying because of him. Do it now. And he was just like, the best he could do was like, shit happens. It's a bad luck kid. I don't know.
That's life, I suppose.
but also,
yeah. I mean, it's nice to see. I mean, it's kind of like you said. I really the big potential with the whole Demacia storyline, right, is that you can have these villains who feel so real and who like you can understand them as humans, but they still are doing heinous shit. And Sylas is kind of almost a nice little inverse of that, right? You can so understand where he's coming from and still is doing things that we find reprehensible in various ways. So that's the great potential about the setup and doing things that are so complex and require nuance. And they deliver on it here, I'll say. And it's very nice. And yeah, like I said, it was really sad seeing Sylas being like, being the Mageseeker has got me. I was able to get out and see the world and see people burn to death.
He literally had to turn his mind into thinking this way because he couldn't stop thinking about that burning child. And he's like, no, just try to think of something positive, man. Right. At least these mountains are pretty. Yeah.
These mountains are cool. Yeah.
These mountains are really cool, huh? Thanks, Mageseekers.
Stars are looking nice tonight. I like also when he empties his pockets to get the flour out, and the only other shit he's got is like a toy horse and like a rock, like a shiny rock from the river, and that's like his like, ooh, this rock going in the pocket. Not everything gets the pocket treatment,
but a good rock. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Team Sylas all the way, man. Kid knows what's up,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all
super
right,
good.
What's next?
I guess arguably the Lux comic.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you're right.
Lux comic is next.
Yeah,
which we did talk about quite a bit already.
We talked about a lot. We talked about a lot. I mean, we can go through the very quick summary. Is it's just kind of showcasing, filling out Sylas's escape, him forming a relationship with Lux, leveraging that to get the knowledge about the Petrosite, and also using her to get magic to escape, and then kind of foment a mage uprising. Planning on killing J3, finding J3 killed by some mysterious means that we'll find out when Mageseeker releases, and planning on killing J4, and then he gets kind of thwarted by Garen, and then he escapes out with his mages, ready to cause trouble. I think it's mostly important when we talk about Mageseeker, because this the most is like really painting a particular characterization or picture of like Sylas as he is now, and the actions he takes are, as much as we can sympathize with his plight and his where he's at, he's also taking actions that are not at all heroic or things we would laud, right? Like the big thing for me is that he's got a hold of Jarvan IV and he brings him out in front of like people, and he is just going to execute him, but first he's going to make him eat rats. And there is no like I said, this like, as much as he's wrong for the right reasons.
His audio cut out. Still can't hear you. I'm so sorry. Hopefully it's still recording. Still can't hear you, man. He's figuring it out. So how you doing, John?
Good.
Oh, God. He's just putting his hands up. He's confused.
Okay, I think we're back.
Okay, figured out. Yeah.
Hey, somebody kicked the cord off their mixing board.
Dumbass.
I don't know what the fuck I was saying.
Whoever did that. Sylas was going to make Jarvan eat rats.
Yeah, he was wrong for the right reasons.
That's essentially the end of my point, right? That's
had Sylas had to eat rats, just
he absolutely
payback,
did,
right?
But I mean, like, at the same time, we certainly would not hold that up as like, here's someone who is a hero, right? Like we expect our heroes to be above that behavior.
An eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind.
Yeah.
No.
All right, Hammurabi.
Makes the whole world go half blind.
No. But a rat for a rat. Eating a rat for a rat.
Makes
that's
the
different.
Whole world have an almost full belly.
Gives everyone the plague.
The protein. Plague. Okay, yeah, that's better.
So something I didn't pick up on the first read through, was when we're getting like Sylas's backstory, and he's kind of like walking around, and we're seeing all the glowing people, and he's kind of going around finding people with various special abilities, helping them get locked up and everything. Is Demacia Smallville?
I watched too much Smallville because I understand exactly what the fuck you're saying, right?
I don't know if I remember Smallville
He's like,
enough.
they've got all these people who, like, a meteor fell in Smallville. All of a sudden, all these people have powers. They didn't have powers before. They don't know what the fuck to do with them. A lot of people who have them are hurting people on accident because they just, well, I've got these powers. What the fuck do I do? And the government's just like, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to arrest all of you. Who cares if you're children? And then Clark Kent is essentially Silas in this, being like, well, you've got powers and I'm a bit stronger than you, so I'm going to go help them arrest you in a lot of these cases. I mean, when you get later to the episode where you see the prison that has all the people that Clark has fucking been responsible for arresting over the years.
Remember that episode where he switched bodies with not with Lionel Luthor and he was stuck in the prison with oh my god. Smallville is like both terrible and awesome at the same time.
That's like just about any CW show from that time, I feel like.
Smallville is like the defanged like rah-rah USA Buffy. Is how I kind of perceived it when I watched it.
Defanged.
You're right, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't know. Maybe that's the way the whole of Runeterra is. Maybe like there's this magic fucking everywhere. That's the thing we're kind of almost expected to believe from things like Mageseeker.
We definitely don't know how Magicborn are Magicborn. I guess we know they're kind of around, but. Why do some people have powers and some people don't, Riot? Where'd the meteor fall?
Yeah, because, yes.
I guess to be fair, sometimes it's just shit like, well, I was going to say just like growing flowers, but that dude also had like thorn armor and can shoot vines out his fingers, so he's not a good example. But it seems like from like, again, Mageseeker, there are people who just grow, like actually factually grow corn and shit with their magic, and that's all they can do. So I don't know.
But they still get arrested.
Yeah.
So I have some notes in here for Lux and all the flags she ignored.
She's just too positive of a person, too optimistic.
I can change him.
Flag number 1. When Silas is talking to her, he's like, oh, this sucks. There's injustice everywhere. And she's like, yeah, I guess, but like it's not too big. Like, well, what are we going to do about it? That's just the way the world is. He's like, I'll tell you what you do. We take an axe to the throne. No kings or lords or ladies. And she was like, wait, you would kill to do that? No. No. Just letting off steam.
I do love to imagine he does give that pause.
It had an ellipses beforehand, so I think he does give that.
Oh, then you're right.
Shit, who am I talking to again? It's not a rat this time. I gotta watch what I'm saying.
Flag number 1. Flag number 2. Get me the original texts of Durand. And then she's like, ooh, sorry, Silas, but they're like locked up. There's nothing I can do. And then he's like, damn them! And punches a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Ladies, if he punches a hole in your ground, leave him.
Yeah, life is going to be putting a lot of holes in your drywall or the ground or whatever. You don't need dudes doing that shit.
You only have so many posters that you can hang up to cover up those holes.
Third flag. You share blood with the people who ruined my life. She's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can ever do to make it up to you. Actually, there is one thing. Asking her to do the one thing she already said she couldn't do for you. Flag number 3. Yeah. She's not good at ignoring flags. But that's because she sees the whole world through the lens of all of her light.
I will say,
is luminescent.
Imagine you're Silas. You've been through everything you've been through. You've had 15 years in the dark alone. And then this young woman comes down, and when you're like kind of talking about how awful everything is, she's like, well, what are you gonna do? That's
it's actually
just
been
life.
Pretty okay for me.
Yeah, it's been not that bad as a mage for me. What are you gonna do about the king, huh? He's just evil. Yeah, take an axe to him. What are you talking about?
Yeah, again, I'm not faulting him.
Yeah, it's just funny.
He's living his best life.
It is amazing he didn't decide to try and strangle her like through the bars.
Know,
like,
right?
You fucking airhead.
It's good. He knew there was something he could gain there. It was good restraint.
Yeah.
Also, and this is going to touch on Mageseekers a little bit, but not lore-wise. The first thing he says when he frees all the mages is, head for the sewers beneath the plaza. And, like, they use those sewers to sneak into Demacia at least half a dozen fucking times in Mageseeker. What's going on with your sewers, Demacia? Are there no doors?
Didn't Noxus also use the sewers at some point? I feel like in the Katarina comic, I feel like someone used the sewer.
They fucking might as well. I mean, you're... I love it because I even have a line in Mageseeker just like, man, the sewers in Demacia are fucking nice. These are good sewers. Twitch would love it here.
They're so uptight, they don't shit.
That is some shit Sylas would say, frankly. He would crack wise like that. Oh my god.
Royalty's eating magically imbued food that doesn't cause you to shit. They just won't give it to the people.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, you just get the flavor and the taste, but like, I guess how I maintain my figure. You think Lord Eldred gets into them Mageseeker robes just by doing a little exercise? Fuck no.
Those are form-fitting robe.
He's painted them on, I want to tell you.
How'd Sylas get so ripped eating rats and living in a dark cell for 15 years?
Who fucking knows,
he would be very thin.
He would be gaunt as hell.
Yeah. Well, we don't think about those things.
Those they don't make a sexy champion, so...
Right.
That's true.
Lux comes down and sees him like, ooh, fuck this.
Not interested. Sorry.
Whatever direction
and then
swipe.
we'll chat.
We did make the Azir comparison, like the Azir Zareth comparison. There's one line that Sylas has, which is just a very direct comparison when he kills everyone, and then Lux is like, but why? We can change or whatever. And Sylas is just like, he was king. He could have changed things at any time.
Yeah.
Instead, he gave us more suffering.
Doesn't he say that to like, am I wrong? Does he not say that to J4, right? When he's got J4?
He may have said that to J4.
Yeah, that's what I thought that's what you were going to say first, and then, but you know. But yeah, you're totally right.
I forgot who he said it to. I just wrote the quote.
No. I mean, you're right, though, right? And at the very least, like, at least J3 realized at the end, like, oh, fuck, I've been fucking up big time. Super fucking hard.
But would any changes have happened if Sylas didn't do what he did?
No.
You know?
It's a fair point, right?
Rebellion.
I mean, it's a fair point, right? Like, I mean, absolutely, and that's what makes it so fucking juicy, right? Is it like, yeah? I mean, he's right for the wrong reasons. Let me fucking tell you, and I love that.
And ultimately, he's making Demacia a better place. Like, and not even sarcastically, what he's doing is making them rethink their entire system. As long
as you're not like some bystander or like somebody who works for some lord who happens to be like guarding a carriage.
Overall, you know, in the long run, I think Demacia will be better.
Does this thinking not also
justify the means?
Yeah, does this thinking not also echo something that perhaps Mageseekers would have said that yes, for the individual? Yeah. But that's what's so fucking spicy about it all, man. That's what's so fun about it. So, you know, you got all these conflicting people in these situations.
Can't we all just get along?
Right? Can't we just like hang out and grow
Can we just call
flowers?
Seraphine into Demacia?
We just need Seraphine.
We need Live Aid, right? We need.
You know what? I think it's too much for we need Seraphine and Sona here.
Shit.
And they'll both sing at the same time, and they'll be like, "Oh my god!"
Except
and then we'll have Echo in the background.
Yeah, and then Ezreal will go.
Who's that guy who's yelling? Who's that guy orgasming in the background?
Watching Sona play.
Oh, that's Jareth Lightfeather.
Hey,
no.
I love that idea because I imagine Sona having to like duck out halfway through because the Mageseekers are coming to kick her ass, and Seraphine's just like,
You're right.
Well, that sucks. Anyway. I'm going to play some new stuff while that's happening. Something from the new album. Everyone's like, fuck this.
Oh, God, I'm leaving.
This one called Let's All Be Friends, Guys, like, please.
Beautiful.
All right. We have too much. We have too much.
Oh my God! Yeah, we gotta stop fucking around.
All right. Well, all right. One thing. All right. Two more things in the story.
Okay.
One. I'm gonna call this a continuity error. I've never seen Sylas limp once. That bitch took a dagger straight through the foot.
Oh, he's fine.
He's fine. He's fucking
straight
fine. He got
through.
Arrow in the shoulder.
I can see pulling out an arrow. That's whatever. Stabbed straight through the foot.
But look how ripped he is, John. I bet his feet are just as ripped.
Not anymore. Now they're torn.
I'm already too drunk for that fucking shit. Wow, I think you actually killed Rebecca with that one.
I'm not drunk enough. You're lucky. I'm not drunk at all. Anyway, what's your other problem, John, besides everything about you?
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love you so much.
He's got a line in this that says, "We'll spill the blood of every lord, prince, and crown guard in the land."
Ooh,
which,
about the crown
again, I mean, not to speak about Mageseeker, but not really, because you're going to get rocked by Garen, and then you're going to rock him, to be fair, but not kill him.
It's not his fault.
And then, and then you're going to fight another prince, and you're also not going to kill Jarvan either. And then you're going to see Garen again, and you're also not going to kill him then. And if you're trying to get all the crown guards, you're not even going to meet Tiana.
It's almost like it's almost like Mageseeker is completely walking back the character because they realize, hey, we made an asshole. I don't know if players want to be an asshole.
I do, is the thing.
I also do.
I would have loved that shit.
I'll say I think him sparing Lux fits, because he did spare Lux originally in this comic too, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think he would.
And especially because Lux is like, Lux is a
She's
mage.
a mage. And he seems to give a shit. That mage is last.
He's the Magneto. He's
yes,
not gonna...
exactly. Yeah, he is the Magneto.
Yes.
And you know what? Magneto was also fucking... but more so than Sylas, for sure.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to talk about Mageseeker until we talk about Mageseeker, because it's...
All right, anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
What's next?
All right, next up, timeline-wise is
probably Recruiter Turmoil.
Yeah.
They're kind of
I have
probably
notes
same
for
times.
Recruit.
Sure. If you want to take it.
I don't have notes for Turmoil.
There's a lot.
Sure. So the Recruit is a shorter one. I would say this is like his color story, technically, I think. Sylas is hanging out in a canyon with his buddies.
A canyon or a canyon?
Canyon, you're right. He's not in a cannon.
He's got some cannons, if you know what I mean.
He does. He's got a lot of cannons. Sylas is hanging out with a canyon.
With a canyon.
With a
His friend
canyon. Sylas is hanging out in a canyon with his mage friends. There's also a canyon there and a cannon, probably. I want to see an animation, like a cartoon, like of that sentence trying to be put together. Anyway, he'd sent a scout, not Teemo, who comes back with a new recruit, a boy named Hap. He's from Dredgeborn, like Sylas. So Sylas feels all like warm and fuzzy and shit. Like, oh, friend. That's all he needs to be a friend. He takes Hap and some trusted mages to an ambush to kill some nobles. The mages tie them up, and Sylas gives them a short "they all must die" speech. He uses Hap's magic to kill all but the main, noble guy. Hap is not really cool with this, and when Sylas tells him to kill the last noble, he refuses. So Sylas is like, "You're not ready. You should go out into the world. Maybe one day you can come back." So Hap's about to leave, but he realizes his choices are to go out in the world alone or to kill this noble, so he picks up a knife and stabs him. And that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's a rough one for Sylas. This is a rough one if you're a big fan of Sylas, I'll say, because he is super they've got all of the captives, right? Okay, ignoring the fact that he's executing a bunch of captives, that's already not great. But he's got them all set up, and then he's like, to his mages, he's like, I don't know, should we let them go? And they're like, no. What if we ask them nicely? Do not fuck with us. They're like, do you think they'll let it not fuck with us? Like, no. And he obviously knows, like, oh yeah, they're gonna want to fucking kill these people.
I'm gonna murder these folks.
I'm gonna murder these motherfuckers. So that's all.
Do you think we should let them go?
Could you imagine that's like your last moments? It's like Silas just like.
This is Silas in like his Barbie girl era.
So yeah, I mean, I do like it. It's very short, but it's very effective.
Yeah,
yeah, I like it too.
This is Silas in that moment in the Lux comic where he fucking backhands her and he's like, "You fucking ain't great."
Yeah, yeah.
This is that Silas.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Yeah. I guess you really see how he manipulates everyone here, which is very good. And even him using Hap's magic, like he's just kind of using this kid to show him how his magic can be used to help his cause. I don't know, like every step of it into manipulating this boy into joining them is so good. Not good, like morally, but you know what I mean? Well done.
It's a great read, right? It's for something that's like a color story. So many color stories are like, yeah, whatever, you know, they killed all the dudes. This one's like, it tells you so much about Silas. It paints such a picture of him as like, he's so deliberate in the things he does, you know? It's fucking great. I really like it.
And if you weren't, this was by John O'Brien, by the way. I don't know if we said
that.
But another thing that makes Silas look like, at least Silas's group, look like bad guys here. When the wagon was coming, it said, with a flick of his wrist, a scruffy old mage summoned a thick cord of iron vines that snapped across the road, catching the galloping horses at the knees. The racket was deafening as the steeds fell neck first into the dirt. Like, excuse me, dude? You're a fucking plant mage. You can find another way to stop that wagon other than murdering the horses.
Yeah.
What the fuck did they do?
That's a good point. That's a really
this is a kill the cat moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really like cotton onto it at the start, but
Me neither. You're right.
You're totally right.
You know what? Fuck Silas. I'm not on Team Silas anymore at all.
I mean, you know, it's you know, man, it's so hard, right? It's so hard to like just be completely fuck Silas, although I do kind of
there's no fully Team Silas or fully Team not Silas.
I'm Team Lux, and that's the ideal, right?
That's true.
Well, we said it from the start, right? Is that she's the nice middle ground. She's the way forward. But yeah, you know, it's a really subtle little thing that paints a picture of them as like they don't care about the collateral damage or the horses or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know what else?
Like,
no,
go ahead.
No, you go.
I liked. It said the recruit looked down at the wrecked carriage in front of them and the long dirt road that wound back to the capital. "I'm ready," he said when he like picked up the dagger to murder that guy. And I just like thinking that he like looked at the dirt, like the long road, and was like,
I'm so fucking tired, guys.
So fucking long to get back. It's
gonna take like at least 2 days.
Are you kidding? This carriage is wrecked now. I can't take this. Like, all right, fine, I'll murder him. I'm not walking home.
And you killed the horses. I couldn't even take one.
Right.
It's mostly just lazy people who are members of the Mage Rebellion, honestly. So sign me up.
You don't have to call me out like that, man. No, I'd walk instead of kill a man.
Fucking well, you know what I was going to throw up is that like it's easy because this guy is some nameless noble, and it's very easy to be like, you know, aristocracy, nobles, you know, fuck them all, right? But you know who was a noble? Lord Barrett Bouvel. That guy was pretty fucking good.
Silas would have killed him.
This could, yeah, absolutely, and that's the point that I'll hold true is that Silas would kill Lord Barrett, and that's bad.
And he would still kill Lord Barrett's wife, I imagine, who's still alive.
Oh yeah, I guess she's an heiress.
I think she's given up her title, right?
Oh, that's true.
I think it goes to like the children.
Loophole.
I don't know. Silas probably doesn't give a shit too much about Demacian like inheritance law. He'd probably just kill them all.
Yeah.
Kill them all, Silas.
Give me your paperwork. Hang on, let me see.
As you can clearly see here, line 13.
He puts on his little spectacles. Like,
Okay, first, Silas would have a monocle. Let's clear that up right there.
You're right.
Silas would touch someone who had magical sight.
Oh,
Now I've got 20/20.
That's my magic ability. I can see good. No glasses for this guy.
Some of us have to blast lasers into our eyeballs, okay? Shut up.
Damn this. When you say it like that, that shit is pretty fucking tight, I will say.
Right?
Like, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't, but someone else, I paid someone to blast my balls, but not. You know what? I like the way I worded that. I'm not gonna change a single thing. What story is next?
Hold on, one more note about this one.
Okay.
This is another Sylas dick thing.
Okay.
Well, not. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Sylas
Balls
is a dick thing.
yeah.
As the youth raised his dagger above the nobleman, Sylas's sorrow turned to unmitigated joy. No matter how many times he liberated, it always made him smile. And his use of the word liberated here
I love it.
Is pretty liberal.
is exactly how like a cult leader would say it. If like you were to like drink if you were to drink the punch that was going to kill you, straight up like, liberated another soul.
He is very much like a cult leader. He's like charismatic in that way, and he's ripped. You know, like cult leaders are.
You know, at least good on him for not having a weird harem of like 30 women who are like need to go get healing from him and shit.
Yeah,
like,
he's not a perv.
Yeah.
No.
He's not
He
one
just
of
wants to
pervy
murder
cult
people.
leaders.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We don't take umbrage with that shit.
But honestly, I'd much rather follow a murderous cult leader than a pervy one.
I mean,
if I had to pick.
Sure.
You know,
right?
if you got to choose
Likewise.
one.
Gun to my head. That's that's where I'm going.
But I mean, he's in a position to be that way, right? Because and as a result of the actions of Demacia, right? They've created a whole subset of people who are so disenfranchised that they are amenable to any suggestion from somebody who is willing to fight for them, right? It's like, so they've again, Sylas is the demon of their own creation, right? Which is just lovely.
I was glad I had read the the story where we follow Sylas as a kid first, because I feel like I appreciated this one a lot more, because like that boy, you could think about Sylas at that age, right? Like that's probably when he'd been arrested and been through all his shit, and to him he is saving this kid from like the life that he had.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's very sad.
It really is, you know, and I think that's what's nice about Sylas too, is that he does believe. He doesn't like just. Yeah. It's not all bullshit with him. It's not all like he does manipulate, but at his core, I think he does. He certainly believes the things that he says, right? And he does think that he's liberating them, and in some ways, kind of is.
Yeah,
it's a thorny issue, I will say, which is so fun. I love it. All right, we want to jump into turmoil. We want to talk about Cytherea of Cloudfield.
Let's do it.
Sure.
By Anthony Reynolds Lennon.
I ended up liking this way more than I thought I was going to by the end of it.
Yeah, I also did too. So it's following. So Cytherea of Cloudfield. We did a Garen First Shield episode. Did we, or did we just do that as part of Garen? I think
it was part of Garen.
I
don't think we did a separate one because it was a novella as opposed to a full-ass novel.
You're right, yeah.
He also, like, aside from the novella, I don't feel like he had a ton, so I feel like we were able to,
Yeah. But she shows up a lot. She's the POV, the main character, really, in that. But she's here. I don't know if this is before or after. I'm guessing before. I don't really know.
I think it's before because she wasn't part of the Vanguard yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
this may have been why she was promoted to the Vanguard.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that's a good point. She's a Demacian soldier, and their duty today is to help escort this diplomatic envoy from so there's like Demacia, right? And they got a bunch of little like weird sort of little nation states around them that they're like super good allies with, and they're escorting an envoy from one of them, who is a mage. And it's a little awkward. So they've got they've got the envoy who's the mage, and they've got two Mageseekers with them who are gonna just kind of keep an eye on this dude as they take him to Demacia, and they just need to get him there. No fuss, no muss. Now they travel through a town that I don't remember the name of. Don't worry about it. I think it's referenced in Mageseeker, crazy enough. They're going through this town. Yeah. And
for the record, too, because I don't think we mentioned it, and I just happen to have a note about it. This dude is from Arbormark.
Arbormark, yes. Yeah, totally. He seems pretty. He seems pretty fun. Frankly, he's pretty cool. He seems very Freljordian almost. So I assume they're one of the more northern whatevers. They're moving through this town. What they're going to do is they're going to take a ship up to Demacia. She is constantly on fucking ships, by the way. That like she's in.
Can't get off of them.
Can't get off them. So they're going to go to these docks, and they get into this town, and people are like really PO'd at them. They're like everyone's like spitting at them and just being like real assholes. And they start heading down this alleyway, and the people have blocked it off with the wagons. And like, okay, we got to turn around. And then those have been blocked off with wagons, and a big angry crowd is forming. And they're like, "You're not getting through here, son." Blah blah blah. There's an angry blacksmith with a hammer. Shit like that. And they start getting like hand them over, yeah. And they start getting pelted with like rocks. She deflects a horseshoe that would have hit the Arbormark envoy in the head. And they're trying to figure like, what are we going to do? If we try and push through, we're going to cause casualties amongst the citizens. We don't want to do that. How do we figure this out? And they're like, we can get through. Maybe we can get through one of these shop fronts, because all the shop fronts have been closed. So her and this guy who's been like a complete dick about the mages, has kind of been muttering under his breath the whole time, like, fucking mages. Maybe we should just let them have them. Blah, 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 blah. They push on through. Her and the envoy and this guy and the Mageseekers kind of get into this back alleyway, and then there is a woman with a crossbow kind of levied at them, a big heavy crossbow, who is like crying. And at first, Cytherea is like, no, don't kill him. He's an envoy. He's from Arbormark. She's like, I don't want. And the woman with the crossbow is like, I don't want him. My daughter, Kara, she was good. She never caused any fucking problems. She turned herself in to the Mageseekers, thinking that just wanting to not cause any issues. And now they took her, and they're taking her back, and they're never gonna fucking see her again. And what Cytherea kind of realizes is that this whole town is after the Mageseekers. Because they took this woman's daughter, and so they're kind of having this very tense standoff. Cytherea is kind of like, okay, calm down, you gotta give it to me, I can't let you kill him. But the woman still shoots off the crossbow. It deflects wide, and it's gonna hit the dude who was being a dick about mages in the throat, and then the Arbormark envoy kind of like magics it away, saves this guy's life. And then after that, the woman with the crossbow sort of like breaks down. Cytherea comforts her, and they kind of go back out to the rest of the crowd, and things kind of dissipate from there. The crowd disperses, everyone's able to kind of breathe easy a little bit, and they progress on their way. And no one's arrested. There's no, as far as the Mageseekers are concerned, there's no like magic that's happened there, so no one gets arrested or anything like that. But it's sort of like a sobering moment for like what's actually happening in Demacia, I guess. I think that's it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it is really good, and you're really seeing the Demacians turn on the Mageseekers, which I think is really smart, and kind of the direction I think Demacia needs to head in if it wants to go in a better direction than it's been going in. And I think it's realistic. There's this small town of people. There's a little girl. She shows magic, and they take her from her family, from her mom. And as a mom of a daughter now, I'd fuck up both those Mageseekers so hard. It makes sense that Demacians would turn on the Mageseekers in the end.
Yeah, and the impression I got too is like the situation they were in before Sylas's rebellion was like, if you were a mage, like if you were a harmless mage, you could register as being a mage, and they'd leave you be provided you like, you didn't
use magic.
Cool.
I think if your magic was dormant, something like that. I don't know.
Benign, I think is the word they use.
Benign. Yes, you're right.
But then after the rebellion, they got the order like, okay, no, all mages fucked now. So then they started going to collect all the people who had peaceably registered. Her daughter being one of them.
Didn't her daughter? I still think her daughter even then gave herself up. It was like, I don't want to cause problems. I'm just gonna give myself over, right?
Yeah, but that's good though. So early on, when she first meets the envoy, Cytherea said he had the heavily muscled build of a soldier or a smith. Definitely not what she'd expected of a mage. She'd always imagined them as sneaking, cunning types, preferring subterfuge and trickery to physical strength. And like,
Have you seen
Excuse
Sylas?
me, have you not seen the wanted posters of Sylas everywhere?
Maybe they draw him
Dude
really
is jacked
skinny.
beyond belief.
They draw him all weak and shit.
Well, I know the
He's
wanted
got, like,
posters
glasses and,
in the, his monocle in the Mageseeker trailer. The wanted posters, it's just from like the neck up. They're like, we can't show the rest of him. Just show his head.
Don't show his lats.
Everyone's gonna be a flutter.
Don't show his delts. Don't show any of it. Fuck it.
Everyone's gonna shit their pants.
You saw what happened to Lex. Yeah.
Also, there was a moment here that... Oh, go ahead.
No, it's whatever. I'm just rambling.
There's a moment here that gave me such fucking Zootopia vibes.
Okay.
So, they're there, and I guess this dude is, he's given, like, an Arbor Mark salute. And it said, Cythria clasped her hand around the hilt of her sword, thinking he was performing some arcane conjuration, before realizing it was the Arbor Mark salute, and then she flushed and got all embarrassed, which is a real fucking Judy Hopps moment with that fox spray right at the end, where she gave that whole speech about, like, oh, you know, these predators are reverting to their base form. And he was like, what the fuck, man? I'm a predator. Are you scared of me? You scared I'm gonna go crazy? And then she, like, grabbed her fox spray and was like, oh no, sorry, my bad.
I like how in the midst of that you said scared, and it was really cute. I don't think you meant to. Are you scared of me? It was adorable. I could focus on the rest.
It made me think of Sona, where she's doing her sign language. She's like, but I gotta do it real subtle because people might think I'm doing magic shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Which, you know, we could have been paranoid at the time, but no, that's
no, yeah, absolutely,
you'll get
right?
Stabbed.
Yeah, for
by
sure.
Cythria of all people.
Of all fucking people. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. I it's like you said. I really liked it because I think, again, what's been so fun about the Demacia stuff is that, like, this shit this is absolutely something that feels very grounded and real. That, like, you would have this weird, very tense standoff with, like, citizenry, and, like, no one. There's even, like, this core misunderstanding of what each group kind of wants almost, and it's like, yeah, that feels very realistic. This isn't some big old, like, Viego's doing some crazy bullshit with the world runes or whatever bullshit. It's like, no, this is so much more human and tangible as the tension in it.
I like
you know?
There's, like, the real disconnect there too between, like, the soldiers assuming like, oh yeah, Demacia hates what the government hates.
And it's like, no,
they hate you.
Yeah, they fucking hate you all. I did like the turn in realizing that it was a mage, because I had this moment where I'm like, why do they hate this mage so much? Like, what? I guess maybe they're angry. They're, like, afraid of Sylas. Are the Demacians that afraid of Sylas? I guess all that just happened, but no. It was the Mageseekers they wanted to murder.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. And you know, I mean, I really, again, it's like you kind of says, like, I really sympathize with I wish I remembered her name, the woman with the crossbow.
I don't blame her at all, dude.
Because at one point the mage, I think Cythria is like, you know, we'll help. We'll get, you know, what's her name? your daughter
Kyra,
back.
Kyra,
and Kyra, and the woman's like, no one ever comes back. They don't come back. No one fucking comes back. This is like just complete confidence that, like, my daughter is gone. My world is gone. I was like, yeah. I might shoot you with a fucking crossbow.
Specifically,
I might also shoot you with a fucking crossbow.
Unless Sylas specifically rescued her, yeah, she's absolutely gone forever.
Well, I don't know. Is she like a wind mage that can, like, he can add to his squad so that he can unlock a treasure chest in his headquarters? Because then she might be safe.
Honestly, maybe she's with Sylas and his group. I don't know how old she was. I didn't say. But he does recruit children, so.
Yeah.
I mean, and she could be. He rescued a lot of people and sent them over to Lux too. So,
that's true. She could be with Lux. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's
Fuck, we hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Cythria had 2 lines. One, like,
just 2 lines, the whole thing.
2 lines. Just all that she had. When the townsfolk were starting to attack and they were, like, throwing rocks and stuff, that kind of dick soldier pulled his sword out. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck these guys up. And Cythria was immediately like, no blades. Like, these are Demacians. We are sworn to protect them. Like, put the sword away.
Yeah.
And it's sad that even, like, the racist Demacians have more restraint than the police.
They're not racist. They just hate all Mageseekers, okay? Not even all. That specific Mageseeker, okay?
Yes, realizing that taking out your weapon does escalate a situation quite a lot.
And along that same point, too, at the end of the story, she's like, all these people were Demacians, and all of them had good intentions at heart, yet recent actions had set them all against each other. And I just want to point out, Cythria, not all of them had good intentions. You were with two Mageseekers.
Yeah.
They very specifically have bad intentions most of the time. They already kidnapped a girl from this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, if they had seen that fucking Arjun guy, if they had seen him do his shit, he would have been gone too.
I would be very curious to see what would happen in that situation. This weird diplomatic envoy situation. What happens if you do actually do magic? Like, they have these weird laws that like you can't do it, but
yeah, like in a situation where there's classic. Had to be in here. If you've got a situation with two Mageseekers, and I don't remember how many, like 4 or 5 at least, of the guard.
I assumed it was a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, really? Could be, yeah. When you have a situation where their job is specifically to protect an envoy, and the Mageseekers get to the point where they're like, well, he did magic, so now we've got to take him in. Like, are those two groups now at odds?
Arguably,
I think technically
no.
speaking, the Mageseekers do have seniority,
or like jurisdiction or some shit.
Yeah, they have jurisdiction, but also, like, do you want to be the member of the guard that lost the envoy to one of your biggest allies?
It's almost something I wish had come up, because it is, again, it's such a complicated situation, and I would love to see these characters have to try and navigate it. Like, let's just take the exact context of what happened, right? Where it's not only did he do, like, yeah, he did magic, but he did magic for the purpose of saving, a member of this guard's life. So it's like there's all these things that you have to take into consideration, and like, how do we as individuals want to try and react to this whole thing? And it's like, I don't, like I said, I almost kind of wish that we had a continuation of this story and that came up, or I don't know. And like, I like it for what it is, but there's so much more that we could do with this setup,
I think maybe. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I missed what he was doing there as well. Like, why are they bringing this mage in? Is it to help catch Sylas? Was that it?
Well, one of the things they said was they were trying to essentially, I think, like, have this brainstorm sesh with all their allies. Like,
they got the whiteboard, the riot board.
What are we going to do about this situation? Like, this is a problem. He's causing a rebellion. It's going to be a big issue everywhere. And Cythria was like, he just started a mage rebellion. Like, why are we bringing in a mage for this? And he's like, I mean, if you want to know the perspective of a mage to try and catch a mage, like, who are you going to bring in other than a mage? Like,
Garen?
obviously it's me that's here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I don't remember what he said specifically. He's like, oh, if you want to craft armor, you bring in a blacksmith or something like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
And maybe what I was going to say too is, like, maybe they didn't want to do a continuation because then it kind of steps a little bit too much on the Quinn story that had kind of a very similar thing.
That's true. That's a fair point. I don't think they thought that. I think it was just like, yeah, this is enough. But you are right. Like, that's its own thing.
I don't think they realized the Quinn story existed, but
you know what? Happy accidents. They covered both bases. That's fine. Sometimes Riot does bad things accidentally, and they do good things accidentally, and we can give them credit for those the latter.
Sometimes Riot does bad things for good reason.
Look, Riot is wrong, but for the right reasons. All right. Do we want to talk about
let's see.
Shackles of Faith or Chains of Faith?
Shackles of Belief.
Shackles of Belief. Oh, yeah.
I was close.
By Anthony Reynolds Lenny.
Hey, your boy, coming at it again.
He did a lot of these stories.
He really did.
2 of them.
Well, I mean, that's a lot.
This was a cool one, too. This was a good continuation of the Sylas storyline, and leads directly into the Call cinematic, or the Warrior cinematic. So.
Yeah, with your boy Galio. I've been playing a lot of Galio lately, so I'm really into him these days. This one's very interesting. Yeah, so it starts out following some Winter's Claw. I guess they're like a little sub-raiding group. You got a Scar Mother, who's kind of like the leader of the raiding group, and then you got a shaman. They give her a different name, but she's just a shaman. She's kind of like a frost priestess, who is kind of tagging along, kind of to the Scar Mother doesn't like her. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but she doesn't like the fact that this shaman lady is kind of tagging along, but she is, because she just kind of has this sort of sense that, like, the gods want me to be here for some reason.
She's Legolas.
Yeah.
I sense something in the sky.
The writer knows that my presence here will be important, okay? But they're out doing a little raiding, and they kind of see this figure trudging along, and they're like, oh, this person is not from the Freljord. They're fucking up super fucking hard. They're gonna die within like the hour, so yeah, whatever. But the shaman lady is like, there's something about this. This doesn't sit right. I'm gonna go see what's up. So she goes out. Now she's kind of like an Iceborne type. She doesn't really feel cold at all. She doesn't dress in furs. She's like Ash. She's cool. She can wear a skirt. It's fine. But she goes out to this figure who is Sylas. It is Sylas. They kind of mention this in the bio, that Sylas had kind of set out with a select few of mages to go look for allies in the north. And I guess they all died except for him.
Didn't go great.
And it's just him left, and he's kind of like trying to trudge his way through the Freljord. I think it's funny that at one point we switched to his perspective, and it's like, I haven't seen fucking anybody, but we all have died except for me.
But he's still going.
Right? He was like, we were fully prepared to fight our way up here, assuming the barbarians were going to kill us. We haven't seen shit, and we still fucked up.
Just some beasts and the Freljord have fucking killed all of us except me, and I'm literally a dozen steps away from death, and he goes his dozen steps and then falls down face first in the snow.
Just like real life, the thing that takes people out, cold.
Yeah.
Is underestimating the cold.
It really, yeah, you're not wrong. And the shaman goes up, and she's like, this dead guy, and she kind of flips him over, and is kind of peering over him, and then he kind of reaches out and does his little magic suck thing, and all of a sudden he gives her the big suck, and her cold resistance goes into him, and he's suddenly like, I'm back up, I'm good, and she's like catatonic. Now the rest of the Winter's Claw that has gone out is kind of going to support the shaman, because the Scar Mother has this guy that her friends with benefits, I guess we'll say, this guy that she sometimes sleeps with, but also her key warrior, this dude who's super fucking cool. He's an Iceborne. He's got a cool true ice weapon called Winter's Wail. He's fucking dope, and he's super.
Mark's got his next Halloween costume ready.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, he's just like super cool, and anyone who dressed like him also that cool. And he's super superstitious is the thing, so that he kind of is very easily swayed by what the shaman is saying, and so he is committed to kind of helping her and whatever. They go out to see what the fuck's going on. The shaman is down on the ground. Sylas is up, shirtless, and is sort of like, hey, I'm Sylas, I'm ready to fuck. And
That's exactly what he says.
It's pretty much what he says. It is funny because like he starts saying shit, and then you realize like, oh yeah, he's speaking Demacian, they're speaking Freljordian, they don't understand each other. And he's trying to be like, I'm Sylas, whatever, and she's like, whatever, I don't give a shit. Hey, dude,
fight,
dude, go kill him. Let's get on with this shit. I got shit to do. But they kind of start fighting essentially her champion and Sylas, and the champion's getting the better of Sylas, but he starts trying to like grab a hold of this weapon that has true ice. He's like, yeah, magic, I got this shit. and he does not have this shit. It starts freezing him to death. And everyone's like, oh, this fucking idiot. He tried to pick up a true ice weapon. Look at this fucking moron. And then he, in like his dying moments, is able to get his hand on the Iceborne, and also kind of tap into the weird ancient magic that is in the Iceborne themselves, and that's what allows him to sort of survive the true ice weapon. He reverts the frost, and then he's kind of got like Anivia powers almost. He can kind of like create walls of ice and shit. He's really popping off, I guess is what I'll say. And everyone's sort of backed off. And at this point, the shaman is up, and she's like, hey, leave him alive. Let me talk to him. I speak to Marcellino, etc. So she's kind of talking back and forth with Sylas, getting his story, like, hey, he's trying to offer an alliance between us. There's enemies in the south of Demacia, and they're very ripe for plunder if we all commit to it. And at one point, she lies. Okay, so she's trying to... So she's the translator, right, between Sylas and the Scar Mother. And she's trying to make the case for Sylas, and she says to the Scar Mother, oh, he's had a vision of the three of, Cyrilda and Lysandra and Avarosa. Hey, I remembered them all. And
nice.
Yeah. And so everyone, the champion and that had been fighting him, and all the other members of this raiding party are all like, oh, fuck. Dude, he's totally in the know. But we find out that the shaman had totally lied. She just knows that this guy's important.
She knows he's a champion.
She knows this guy's a champion. He's a League of Legends champion. You can't kill this guy. And so essentially is able to kind of get the raiding party willing to have him come and fight with them is kind of where it ends up. Is that if you come fight with us and you're not a fucking punk, you're good. We'll see about this alliance, etc. And also, Sylas and the shaman lady are kind of making eyes at each other, like, we might fuck later.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
He did declare he was ready. So,
yep.
According to Mark,
he did stand up, shirt open.
He's got a rakish smile, and that's all you need these days. So.
When you're Sylas.
Yeah.
A rakish smile.
He's still
and
ripped.
Also that
somehow. He's starving and freezing, but he's still ripped somehow.
He's had one rat to eat. He's fine.
He ate some ice. He's good. He found the orange soup.
I think he only eats rats now after 15 years. It's all he's just got a taste for it.
I hope that they gave him some kind of food. I didn't think he only ate rats that whole time.
It's
but
like
maybe.
I've had every meat under the sun, but none of it really quite captures the taste of that rat. I've come to crave it. Yeah.
He's got the hunger.
But that is the story in its summary.
Yeah.
I need more of champions who think they're hot shit being dropped into some area where they don't know jack all. Like, give me, throw Garen into Ionia or something. Like, or Jarvan. Throw him in all surrounded by all this magic.
Dude, I love it. It reminds me of, the Sisterhood of War story where you got these Noxians who are like, we're fucking Noxian. We kick fucking ass. And they go into Ionia and this place sucks. I don't know how the fuck we ever fought a battle.
The land is trying to kill. I didn't know I had to fight a tree. What the hell, man?
Yeah. That when we did Swain, that Edge of the World story that we'll do for Zyra is totally like that. And it's very satisfying in that way. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very fun.
I think Ishtal would take out 90% of the league champions.
Apparent fucking league they will.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's good though. So when Sylas was kind of taking his last 15 steps, it said, sheer force of will and the burning desire to see the monarchy and noble houses of Demacia fall drove him on. So this was another one of those people deciding not to die, but this was deciding not to die for murder.
I love that he decides that, and then like you said, 15 steps later, he's just fucking out. You can not want to die. The Freljord doesn't give a shit, dog. If you're in the Freljord, you're actually going to die, okay? None of that willpower shit. Hey, I'm disconnected. That's okay. I'll be back in the call.
I see you. We still see you.
You're still here.
Sorry, y'all froze for a good 5 seconds.
Oh, you were fine. You were still going.
Yeah, you were
Sorry.
good.
John, did you have to write your notes? Did you have to phrase it that way?
I don't know which one we're talking about.
Sylas is gonna dick down.
Kind
That's
of.
how you decided to phrase that one.
I mean, by the end of the story, that is explicitly what the author is telling us. Okay,
Yeah.
I will say.
In between that rakish smile, by the way, because, he had stolen that lady's power. After she rescued him at the end, she was like, but by the way, don't ever touch me again. And he, basically, winked at her and was like, not without your permission. And then...
Tell you, man, 90s rom-com love interest. That's what British accent
for the record,
means.
is her name. Thorva. And that Scar Mother, by the way, is heavily featured in Legends of Runeterra.
Can Sylas touch people without taking their magic?
Fuck.
What'd you ask? I'm sorry.
Can Sylas touch mages without taking their magic? Is it like rogue or?
Maybe
I assume it's a rogue situation.
So he can't make sweet love to this.
He could, but it just needs to not be fucking cold.
Yeah, just be by a campfire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he'll get too hot. It'll be awkward.
Sometimes that makes it better.
Also, I like that he's coming to Freljord.
He's what in Freljord?
He's coming to Freljord. For this ancient magic. They said that he had heard stories of this ancient magic.
It was very vague.
I'm curious if they were talking about the void or something like that.
And where did he hear this from? One of the books?
It said he was
not
reading
for children.
In the books.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it had been referenced in one of the books, an ancient and terrible magic far to the north. And this is to topple the power he needed to topple Demacia. And my dude, awakening the void to topple Demacia is so overkill. Bring 3 Noxians in there. All it took was Katarina to basically throw everything into chaos. You don't need to waken the void, my guy. No.
I can only assume that he is not talking about the void. He's just talking about this true ice bullshit. This and like I said, the fact that he's able to get the kind of the iceborne magic from this dude, that's the type of shit that he's after. Is the true ice, this super primal, for lack of a better word, magic that the Freljordians seem to kind of engage with. Not the void type shit. The void would be an interesting turn for Sylas to take, and I would kind of be open to it.
I'm curious how that would work. Could he take, if he were to be face to face with Belveth, could he take Belveth's magic?
That's a good question.
That seems scary. How about Ionia? Could he go in there if he just lays in the ground? Does he just become a god?
I am Ionia now.
Yeah,
I am Ionia, and so can you.
I kind of want to see Sylas in every region now, from what y'all are saying, right?
That'd be great.
I don't know. Something that's a big question mark for me for Sylas, I guess, is the gap between Mage Rebellion kind of going on, and now you're in the Freljord. And why did you decide to do such this limited expedition? 12, a dozen, right? Or a couple dozen? It's a very small number of people he brings up with him. Was it the situation so desperate that he felt he needed to go north? Was it that he just knew he would never be successful, that if he didn't go north? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this it all feels very out of place. Sylas going to the Freljord. It always has for me. Every time it's been mentioned, I never really understood it. I felt like he was collecting mage runaways from Demacia, and that seemed like a good place for him to be.
Yeah.
Maybe he caused kind of the God, what's his name?
Teemo.
Wait, is his name?
Is it Teemo?
Who's the hero's villain?
What?
You have to elaborate a little bit for me.
The villain from Heroes.
I didn't watch Heroes.
I know who you're talking about. The guy who takes brains, right?
Yeah, is it
Smallville? Clark Kent.
Sylas, is it? Wait, hold on.
Oh, dude, it's not Sylas. It's
by the way, looking into baby names, Sylas growing in popularity.
No
this
shit.
Is because I did when I was when we were pregnant and I didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl yet, I was just like collecting names, and I was looking at a lot of league names, and I was like, Silas, I don't hate that. Actually, Sylar.
It's got an R. It's spelled the same, but it has an R instead of an S at the end. That's for the. I didn't put this together. That's the villain in Heroes who sucks people's powers out.
Oh,
that is fucking wild. I forgot about that guy. I'm very
curious if that's a coincidence or not.
You know it's not.
The creator of Silas just loves Smallville and Heroes. Huge fan.
But I was gonna say maybe it was a situation like Sylar where he like is like, oh shit, I can take powers. Like, why am I wasting my time on the small time bullshit? I can go to the source of magic and become a god.
Just saying.
And take out all the kings.
He thought Freljord had the best magic. Did he not hear about other places in Runeterra?
Where do you think in Demacia they would talk about who has the best magic? They probably don't talk about that shit at all.
That's true. Yeah. Freljord seems to be the most relevant for them.
He's going to shit his pants when he hears about Ionia. Shurima? There's so much magic walking around there.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Put him, like, that makes... I like Sylas, like, his Mage Rebellion... I don't know. Like, I like the idea of him being in Demacia as like Demacia with an active Mage Rebellion, because I like the 3-state solution of like him and old Demacia and new Demacia. But I also like the idea of him having like a failed rebellion and like, I need to get more power. I need to go to these other places, and then seeing him trying to interact with Ascended or like that type of shit, or Targon,
or Viego. Maybe he's heard of Viego and wants to like release Viego, who's been sealed away now. Maybe he wants Viego's magic.
It's almost like there was some event, right, where Viego was there in Demacia and he could have like tapped into the magic, but apparently he was just AFK. I don't know. He was like
That's when he was in the Freljord.
He was in the right. Except ignoring, of course, that Viego was also there, but whatever. At some point, right? They just missed each other, right?
You have Pale Abs, I have Pale Abs.
Oh.
Maybe we work together.
Abs brothers.
Abs brothers.
I mean, he did grab Pantheon too, so maybe that's all he was looking for.
It's more hot cross buns.
And I could see it. So again, not to touch on Mageseeker too much, but by the end of Mageseeker, I can see why. I could see maybe why Sylas would want to do this. And I'll get into it in a bit more detail when we do the Mageseeker conversation, because I know we kind of want to avoid general Mageseeker spoilers until we have the conversation, so we can put like timestamps in the description for people who haven't played it yet. But I'm okay with it given how it ends. But I have another question. Are all Iceborn capable of the bullshit that Sylas did if they were trained properly?
That's good.
Could they, if they had someone who could train them to tap into that, could they all do that bullshit that Sylas pulled?
To clarify, the bullshit that he does is that like the Scarmother throws a spear at him, and he summons, like I said, an Anivia Ice Wall and kind of catches the spear like mid-throw. He's got like complete control over the ice. And that's a good
Which is something that the rest of the Iceborn are like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Well, I never have seen an ice wall quite like that.
Like, wait, you can do more with this power than just hold these stupid-ass weapons? What?
And be not cold and wear short shorts? You know what? I'm actually open to the idea that he specifically can, because he is so attuned to like using magic. They're all just like, whatever, I'm not cold. Right? And sometimes I can hold this sword. But he's like, I spent my whole life interacting with magic and getting a sense of like what it feels like to use magic and using other people's magic. So like he's like, oh yeah, you guys didn't know you could do like ice walls and shit?
Right? I want him to teach all the Iceborn.
Dude, that would be so fucking cool though. Okay, so Sylas allies with the Winter's Claw, and suddenly they become way more powerful because he's teaching all the Iceborn like, yeah, you can do this and you can do that, and their frost priests are more powerful.
And Ash is like, what the fuck?
Well, now hold on.
Okay.
Because in the Awakened cinematic, a lot of the warriors he brought with him are shooting ice shit at people. Maybe he's already taught them some shit.
But that's the continuation, right? Because Warriors is already kind of like a weird sort of like, here's what's going to happen next type thing, I kind of think.
Yeah.
But that would be that makes perfect, God damn it, Riot, that makes perfect logical sense. That never happened.
You fooled me again.
You've done something that makes like complete logical sense from step A to step B, that like, yeah, they would all of a sudden have like, fuck Frost Priests, we can all do this. We just need someone who knows magic, Sylas, to teach us. And now the Winter's Claw is a threat, and thus the Avarosans have to ally with the Demacians, and you've got, oh my god, it's so fucking good. I'm on, yes, I like it.
Sweet.
Fucking cool. Thanks for...
On that note.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean... I guess Mageseeker next.
Sure, I think we've gone through all of the stuff that's on the universe page, right?
I think so.
And not
even.
So, yeah, if you haven't played Mageseeker, don't want spoilers, we are going to put timestamps in the description this time because I was so bad at estimating last time. I'm not even going to try this time.
No.
Look to the description for the timestamps.
Sure.
And with that said, Mageseeker.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, so I guess we'll go through a high-level summary of what happens, right? It essentially follows Sylas from, like, immediately after the Lux comic, right? Like, immediately. Yes. And on through, I guess, the culmination of the Mage Rebellion. I don't know. Like, okay, so he does a bunch of shit. Right? He is freeing mages, and he's fighting with the Mageseekers, and there's a bunch of fucking retcons, and I guess it culminates with the Mageseekers being the enemies of all of Demacia, including Jarvan the Fourth, and all them jazz. I don't know how you want to summarize this, I'll be honest with you. Like, okay, so like...
You really bada, or whatever, yada, 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 that.
Okay, so Sylas, like... Okay, so they start the rebellion. Sylas gets some allies. They start building the Mage Rebellion. They uncover that the Mageseekers, specifically a Mageseeker named Hesbeth, has been performing experiments with mages, combining them with, I don't know, magical fauna, and creating weird monstrosities. And Lord Eldred, the head of the Mageseekers, has been on board with all this shit. They free mages. They find out that Lux is running her own mage group in a place called, I'm going to say Terabithia. I know that's not right, but it's very close.
There's a bridge there.
There's a bridge, you know. But I mean that's really kind of what it is, right? It's following the Sylas's Mage Rebellion as it kind of grows in power, and we see the Mageseekers kind of wane in power to the point where all of Demacia, including Jarvan the Fourth, have kind of like what's the word? They've disowned them essentially. So the Mageseekers are their own like weird antagonist faction that Demacia is opposed to, and it culminates with like they're successful in defeating the Mageseekers. They've killed Eldred. They've killed Hesbeth. The Mage Rebellion is honestly kind of pretty successful, but Sylas sort of ends it with like, but I still don't like the monarchy and nobles, so I'm still kind of like antagonized towards Demacia. And Lux is running her own sort of mage place in Terabithia, whatever the fuck it's called, where mages can go, and Jarvan has kind of like come to grips with the ways he's fucked up, and Garen is gone and is like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't really like Mageseeker.
John, you want to take it over?
Yeah, why don't you take over?
Because I think John liked it a little more. Did you?
Okay.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, we do get more of an arc for Jarvan in this one too, as he goes from, you know, Sylas's uprising, like you mentioned, very successful. Jarvan's like, man, we really gotta fucking crack down on these mages. Mageseekers are like, cool, we can do that. Let's just kill all of them. And Garen's like, fucking excuse me? He's like, why don't we just put them in jail? He's like, no, they're breaking into our jails, and that's how they're recruiting their rebellion. So we just have to kill him. We can't put him in jail anymore.
We don't know how they're getting in. Super weird.
We put a do not enter sign on all of our sewers, so it couldn't be that.
Couldn't be that.
Jarvan isn't fully sold on this murder all the mages idea, but he's also not against it enough.
He does sign the decree, the execution decree.
So I guess he's not against it.
That seems pretty on board, I will say.
We all make mistakes, Mark.
And that's basically when Shyvana was like, all right, well, we're done here.
I am glad Shyvana got involved in
At
this, in her
least,
relationship,
right? At
her
least she
friendship
showed
with
up,
Jarvan and all that. Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll protect you. It's fine. She's like, no, I'm cool anyway.
That's not really good enough for me,
Yeah, so she pieces. In the big final showdown with the Mageseekers too, she was fighting with the Mage Rebellion, just burning the shit out of the Mageseekers from the sky too. That was fucking cool.
It's my girl.
The Mageseekers were like, oh sweet, isn't that Jarvan's friend?
Is she? Yeah, they're like, is she? I literally just had this happen. Like, is she fighting us? And then she just burns them all. Yeah. And Morgana is involved. Don't forget the veiled lady. She plays a big fucking part.
This is
not the pale lady, the veiled lady.
To touch a bit on your retcon, I think this is the thing that rubbed me a bit the wrong way. Is the Morgana sections. So Sylas essentially goes to Morgana to get her blessing. Like, hey, we've got a rebellion. People are being hurt, and we could really use your help here. You're supposed to kind of protect the innocent. And she's like, yeah, you're right, I am. But like, I'm looking into your heart right now, and that's not at all what the fuck you care about. You don't give a shit about the innocent right now. You are strictly looking for revenge, and I'm not down with that. So he goes back. He's like, all right, guys, my bad. She didn't buy it. I couldn't get her help. And then he goes through, like, he, over the course of the game, I guess he becomes less selfish. Someone he was close to died, and he was like, oh no, man, I guess I'm a better man now. It was kind of a quick change, and then Morgana was like, yeah, you are a better man. All right, we're cool now.
Give him the old thumbs up.
He gave him the old thumbs up.
The Darius thumbs up.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, that was... I mean, like we mentioned, like, I'm cool with him living in the space he was living in. I don't need him to have a redemption arc where he's also a good person. Like, I'm cool with him being just a selfish manipulator who's got all these, like, people following him because he's charismatic, but he's not, like, a nice guy. But the game definitely leaned more into him being a nice guy by the end.
It is. I mean, by the end, I think through and throughout, I feel like it's a complete walk back of the Sylas character, right? Like, there's a point pretty early on. Okay, so like the big thrust with like Lux, for example, is that like it's not that he killed a bunch of innocent people using Lux's power, and she feels like, oh, you used me for all that shit. It's that he outed her as a mage, essentially. Like, that seems to be the conflict that Mageseeker is trying to sell us on. That, oh, because he used her power, everyone in Demacia knows she's a mage, which already contradicts the Lux comic. Like, that's whatever. But at some point, he's like, so there's a Yordle, I think, Yops, who hangs out with them, is like, oh, would you do it all again if you could, Sylas? He's like, yeah, I would. But I would tell Lux that, I was just doing what I needed to do to survive. And it's like, motherfucker, you did not. This is the actions you took in that comment, and that is not the act of like survival, right? It is someone who's relishing in the fact that you have power, right?
Right. Like the initial act, sure. Having to steal the powers to not get your head chopped off, sure. The rest of it, that was a victory lap.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like that, where he's like. So here's like the big problems I have with Mageseeker. I'll lay them out right now, right? Like, that's part of it, right? Is that Sylas is super like lovable and chill and good. There's none of this, like the recruit, the Sylas in the recruit does not exist in Mageseeker. No. There's even a whole conflict about like, hey, there's this kid we can use to upgrade I can use to upgrade my health upgrades and shit. But he's like young, and he has a conflict with this new character, Leliani. About like, hey, he's pretty young. Should we even involve him in the rebellion, etc.? Blah blah blah. And that's a whole point of conflict. Sylas from the recruit doesn't give a shit about that fucking kid. If he's a mage, he can fight, right?
Especially because when we're introduced to that character, we're introduced to him like blowing up a room full of assholes. Like that is a power that Sylas would absolutely want in his rebellion.
Yeah. I think another big frustration I have is with so there's a character called Leliani, who I mentioned, who essentially, in my mind, kind of usurps Sylas as the leader of the Mage Rebellion, right? Like, she's the one who's like the leader, and she's the one who's so like even-tempered and kind and nice, and she's like, I don't want revenge or to be mean. I just want a Demacia where everyone can be equal and all mages can be free. And
so
it's
she's
like
Lux?
Well, she's Lux, except she gets fridged
Lux.
so that
great.
so that Sylas can complete his hero's journey.
Great. Is she the one who dies so Sylas can become a better person?
Yes.
I love that.
Dude.
That's my favorite trope.
Dude.
That's my favorite trope.
Dude.
It's when you kill the lady.
At one point, she's like,
so the man can become a better man.
She's like, hey, Sylas, I have this spell. It's super fucking good, but it will kill someone who uses it. And he's like, I wonder what's going to happen to you. wonder where that's going to end up. But yes. I mean, but that's the thing, right? Is that, like, at one point, there's a line where Sylas is like, well, Leliani, that's why you're the leader and I'm the guy who knocks heads. And it's like, Sylas, the Sylas that I know is the leader.
Right?
He runs this fucking shit and would never abdicate.
He's got that fucking Adam Ryan charisma.
Mm-hmm.
He is out here to lead.
That is a bummer. I was like, I totally get where you're coming from on just wanting the evil Sylas. I do love a bad guy turned good. So I feel like when you were talking, I was like, I might be able to get down with this game Sylas. But him, like, not being a leader of the Mage Rebellion, that immediately I was like, no, absolutely not. What are you talking about? He is the leader of the Mage Rebellion. He is manipulating, he's not manipulating everyone into following him. Obviously, a lot of people don't need to be manipulated for that.
Yeah.
Plenty of reason.
But he wants to lead, right?
Yes. Like, he definitely wants to be the leader there.
No,
it's an interesting, like, contradiction of his character, too, in that, like, he clearly wants to be the leader, despite all of his quotes and shit being like, no leaders, no kings. But, like, obviously, like, no leaders,
He's
but,
Scar.
like, join me.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard. I almost regard it as, like, in the same way I look at Arcane, right? Where it's like, it's just its own thing, and whatever. It's its own kind of, like, maybe almost like a what if. The umbrage I take is that, like, Arcane's really fucking good, and Mageseeker is just kind of like whatever with its story. Like, the gameplay is good. I like the game. I think we were talking about doing a Patreon episode of talking about it at length as like a game review.
Yeah, as like a game itself.
Yeah. But from the narrative perspective, it's like there's nothing terribly compelling. I'm never going to tell someone, "Oh, go play Mageseeker for the story." It's like whatever. So when it's like you're complete, like, this is a completely different Sylas. They wrap up pretty much the whole Demacia storyline in most of its entirety. Like you kind of said, like the idea of the Mageseekers becoming the enemy of, like, all Demacians, like, that's like a satisfying narrative end. But the fact that they get there in a 15-hour game, it's like, it is way too abbreviated. It doesn't feel earned by the end of it all, I guess I'll say, to me. So that's where I take big sads with it all. It's And on top of that, there's a lot of, like, big retcons, right? Like, they introduce a couple characters. Like, Sylas had a young girl that he had kind of been brought up in the Mageseekers with, named Wisteria, so whereas, like, Sylas quickly kind of grew to hate the Mageseekers, she was fully indoctrinated and kind of grew to hate herself, which is a super cool idea.
And it's something too that, like, would have happened to Sylas for sure.
Yes,
if he had stayed with the Mageseeker, because she's also a mage, who is a Mageseeker. So she just grew up to be like, God, I'm fucking awful. I want to this curse inside of me. I hate it, but I guess I'll use it for Demacia. And, like, that would have been Sylas. But.
Yeah. Again, that's a super compelling idea, and even in fact, she has a I guess apprentice, for lack of a better word, another, like, young child, who's got a lot of power, who she's kind of taken under her wing, who she's kind of leveraging to fight Sylas. Her name is Rain, And in the idea that like when he defeats Wisteria, he has to kind of take on Rain. Like this is like at the very end as like an apprentice and kind of help show her how to not be Wisteria and not almost like not be himself, I guess. Like here's the way through all this crap. Again, that's a really great way to kind of like almost redeem the Sylas character. I think also like all this could work if this was like a way bigger, like fully in-depth RPG, but this is, like I said, a 15-hour like hack and slash, and you don't really have the time to fuck around with this type of shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a few kind of random lore notes on this one.
Sure.
So one actually was just kind of it was just a journal entry, I think, once you get to Lux's camp, because there's a bunch of mages in Lux's camp. We mentioned before there's mages who like just grow stuff. Lux has a bunch of those because her camp specifically is the people who don't want to join Sylas because they don't want to fight. They just want to live in peace. So naturally attracted a bunch of the farming mages. But
they didn't want to throw corn at the Mageseekers.
But there was a quote in one of the journals that was like, if mages were free, every part of Demacia could be this lush. Which is like a very good point, because there's just shit growing everywhere. Just like food, health would never be a problem there if they could just get over their shit.
And Noxus has to take some of these mages.
I know,
sure.
Right?
Why don't they have a
bad
mages?
That's a good point. I mean, even when there's another journal where it's like a Mageseeker who's like, hey, so I've been arresting a bunch of mages and they're all just growing crops. Like, can we talk about this? And then the next, like the journal, like I think previous to that is like, this fucking guy, he doesn't want to arrest crop mages. Fucking throw him in the Mageseeker dungeon. And his family too. Fuck them. Right?
Yeah, they're big on arresting families too in this game.
I will say that like that's almost something I also take issue with, is that the Mageseekers, they go away from what I've been kind of like praising, which is this sort of like realistic. Evil. Yeah, they're total cartoon, and I think Hezbeth, that character I mentioned, is like the example of that, where he's like doing like total like Joseph Mengele type shit of like, hey, we're gonna take these mages and we're gonna like splice them with monsters, and they're just like, he's like torturing people for fun. At one point, Eldred, who like the Mageseeker, leader guy we've talked about in other places, he's playing like an evil pipe organ right in his office. He's like Phantom of the Opera, and like
he's even got the mask.
He's got the yeah. Hey.
I'm imagining the end of Ocarina of Time when you go fight Ganondorf and he's playing the fucking with his cape, his dramatic cape, and he's playing pipe organ.
I mean, he's like, okay, so this is pretty early on. Wisteria is like coming to report to him, and he's like, yes, what do the people of Demacia think about Sylas? And like, well, they already think he killed the king, so that's not good for him. He's like, yes, good. Now also, go spread fucking lies about him too. He doesn't even like, there's no subtlety, right? There's no nuance. He's like, yeah, I know this is bullshit, but go lie about him, because that's fucking, let's take care of him for sure.
That's weird. I don't. The Mageseekers are so evil on their own. You don't have to add it.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing I liked about this is that we get to see a bit more about the founding of Demacia.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of find out that it was founded as a way to protect against evil, and they used magic to do it. And then over time, the Mageseekers are the ones who convinced everyone that it was founded as a way to protect against magic.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm more open to that idea.
Yeah, that's fine. That feels realistic.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing. We also get confirmation from a few questions we had about Morgana, because I know that we had, during the Morgana episode, I think we had talked about like, why is Morgana hiding away? Like, why doesn't she kind of come out and be more aggressively for the people? She has all this power, and she specifically says in Mageseeker, she doesn't step out of the shadows because she knows if she does, Kael will return, and Demacia is not ready for Kael's judgment.
I thought that was pretty cool. That's a pretty for like one single line, it's so effective, right? They're like, yeah. Also, I really need to run to the bathroom.
Yeah. Go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get more wine. Do you want anything?
Sure, get me some of your wine if you could.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can't have yours. You'll get
It's
fucking
too expensive.
Hammered. Oh, that's yeah. It's definitely not expensive.
I like mead, a very specific type of mead, and they just, for some reason, made the bottles smaller and cheaper. Smaller and cheaper made bottles, price-wise, exactly the same price, which was a huge bummer. Because it's like, it's my favorite type of mead, and it's just about the only mead we can get here that's like a solid 20%. I feel like most of the other mead is like 10 or 12%. I need my 20-25% mead. Anyway, those are my big problems. How y'all doing? Yeah? Say hello to your mother for me. If you weren't watching my stream the other day, I have this new snack I got the other day. It's Reese's dipped animal crackers.
Just talking like you're streaming.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what we're gonna keep in. I know I'm not gonna be editing the video.
Hey, I'm back. Smoothless transition. So, all right. Sorry, I'm ready to talk about Mageseeker.
Can I just say one thing about Mageseeker that I don't know why I didn't know this before now. Maybe you all knew it and I'm just a fucking idiot. I did not realize until I played Mageseeker that the Demacian logo were the Morgana and Kale wings.
I don't know if I can picture the Demacian logo right now.
It's the two wings. I wouldn't have known that. Sword.
No. Yeah.
I guess
I did not know that they were supposed to be Morgana and just never crossed my mind.
I guess I assumed they were only supposed to be the Kale wings because it seemed like from when we had done the two that they only really remembered Kale, and that's why they're both kind of up.
They look
instead
like
of like one that's like up and down. I don't know.
Because the wings look the same.
I guess that's fair. I guess.
Yeah. There was I forget if it was a journal entry or something, but someone said that they were like the wings of the sisters or something like that.
I think it was actually in the so near the end, Morgana kind of gives like a big like, hey, here's the actual factual about Demacia. Demacia to Sylas, and I think she mentions that she's like they even remember, like she explains like, hey, the protectors use magic to protect Demacia and their wings are still like in the Demacian thing, but like
it's probably like one of those things where like in old Demacia, maybe the wings did look different and then over time they kind of morphed to look the way they do now.
Sure.
To be just Kale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of
that was interesting. I don't know why I didn't fucking notice, but I didn't. But yeah, that's all I have for Mageseeker.
Yeah, I mean, I think it with Mageseeker, it's so hard because like things.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Say what?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I have one more thing.
Okay. Well, I mean, where things end up, it's really hard to like accept that this is reality, I guess, because it really has concluded so much of the Demacia storyline, and it like where it ends, I guess, are like maybe reasonable narrative conclusions for the characters, but it's such a short game, that I'm not really satisfied with it, and I almost would like. I guess I would like in future episodes and stuff to not really regard it as canon.
Yeah, I've been
told that Riot Forge is canon.
I really take big fucking problems with that, because it's like, okay, the idea that like, yes, sure, Jarvan and Demacia kind of coming to the conclusion that the Mageseekers are wrong and that they should oppose them. Like, sure, he could end up there, but you have so much work to do to get him to that point, to get Demacia to that point. And to kind of have it all happen within the span of this game and have it happen so shortly, like to have Garen come to the conclusion of like, yes, I'm gonna go be with Lux and I'm gonna help her and be on her side. Like that is so much of his like growth and arc, and for that to happen in this game feels cheap, for lack of a better word. I want it to take longer, and I want it to be more painful for the characters. It's not enough for me for them to end up in these places,
Yeah, the storytelling is hard for them in, like you mentioned, like in a hack and slash where it's told mostly in cutscenes in between action set pieces.
I think that, and and it's like I think they took a really big pains to make Sylas very likable, and it feels so much like the character has been changed for the purposes of like, we need to make a game, we need to make it make it something that people who maybe are not super into League lore can like get on Sylas's side. Things like that.
They don't know about the 15 years he ate rat.
And that's something that would put them on his side, but they don't know about the time that he killed a bunch of like prisoners of war and like was manipulated like some kid into joining his shit like that, where it's like, is it even the same character almost? I guess bringing it back to Sylas, and I would argue that it's not. That Sylas is, it's like we talked about, he's not the leader of the Mage Rebellion. They've got this like almost fan fiction, in my opinion, tier kind of character of Leliani, who instead is there, and she's just like, she's the perfect like leader. She is totally into like the concept of what Demacia looks like after the rebellion, whereas Sylas is not. She is what Lux kind of should be, and it's frustrating for me, the idea that this is where we're gonna like leave the Demacia storyline. And I guess like the way they end it with Sylas is that like the reason he goes, because they do still end with a stinger of like, oh, you should go to the Freljord to go get allies, but it's not to like do anything with mages, it's just to like end the monarchy. Is that right? Like, am I interpreting that correctly?
He wants a fair election.
So here's my I know I had mentioned that I was okay with this continuation of the Mageseeker story. With Jarvan now kind of the Mageseekers have lost a lot of power. They're kind of operating less under the acceptance of Jarvan. A lot of what Sylas was using to gain sympathy among common Demacians is kind of gone, because a lot of that was like, Mageseekers are evil, they're hunting mages, like, we know this is bad, let's work together to end it. And then by the end, like they kind of did it. But obviously Sylas is not happy with that, because Sylas the whole time really just wants to fucking topple, like you mentioned, topple the monarchy. No more kings, no more lords. But like, now that they don't have the shared hatred of the Mageseekers to recruit commoners, it's probably going to be harder for him to get people to his side. So I could see him maybe not going to Freljord for more supporters, because that's there's way better places. Like, there's Demacian allies, we know, right outside the border that's full of mages. Like, go there instead, don't go to the fucking Freljord. But I can see him thinking like, people aren't going to join me, like, I need more significant power if I want to actually tear all this shit down. And I could see that be why he goes north.
I suppose. I think it's so hard, because the idea of Sylas being opposed to like the concept of a monarchy and wanting, like you said, fair elections and stuff, always felt to me like such a bullshit cover. Like, this guy only cares about mages, right? The Sylas that I've read doesn't give a shit about the power structure of like monarchy or whatever. Like, yeah, it's something that maybe he doesn't like, I guess, but really he cares about mages, and he wants. And I think the Sylas that I've read about, if the mages are secure and they're safe, he probably doesn't even give a shit about that, right? The Sylas that I've read about really just cares about retribution. He doesn't give a shit about mages being happy or secure. He wants people to feel the pain that he's felt.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, and especially like, not all, like, he mentioned the hypocrisy of the fact that highborn mages like are fine. Like, I expect that. I mean, sure, he's friends with Lux. She got that initial pass. But other highborn mages, I don't think he's going to have the same sympathy for them. The lords and lady mages, like, I absolutely think that in his quest for vengeance, like, they're on the chopping block.
I suppose. I think it's just like the idea of like Sylas's motivation being shifted away from like equality for mages and like being I guess at least like based out of like a more of a mage equality thing, and into more of this weird sort of like, I want to get rid of the monarchy and introduce like a more equivalent system. It again defangs the whole situation, where it's like, if someone came to you with that, if Sylas came to you with that, couldn't you be like, okay, well, I mean, can we talk about it? Like, do we have to have a whole fucking war about this? Can't we, like, try and figure out a peaceful solution to, like, dealing with a monarchy instead of...
I think what makes more sense for Sylas, if he's still trying to recruit people, is kind of spreading the idea of, like, why would you trust that the Mageseekers really aren't in power anymore? Why would you trust Jarvan to actually be... You saw what he's done. You saw what his father's done. Do you actually believe that they're going to let all our mages live free now? It's been how many decades that mages have been recorded and arrested and imprisoned, and suddenly, no, it's all fine now, you know?
Yeah, I think that's way more realistic. That's way more realistic. It puts him in a more logical place.
He doesn't trust them. He wants them to die. He's pissed off. That makes the most sense to me.
And you know what else is that explains why he would have a loss of power base, because maybe there were a lot of people who would be like, yeah, I've got... Jarvan said that it's cool. You know, they're people who are until very recently probably very... into the Demacian power structures, right? So the idea that, like, the king says it's cool, I kind of trust that. So you've only got, like, a small subset of, like, really paranoid individuals who would agree with him that, like, we can't trust this.
I imagine a lot of them want to go home. And for Sylas, he doesn't have one. He's never been home, you know? Mm-hmm. Not really. So it's, you know... And I imagine he's a rarer mage who's been locked up for so long. I don't think a lot of them have been. So he's so lost, and they're not doing anything about that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where does he go? Like, what if he didn't want revenge? What would he do? Is he just going to get a job? Apply, work at a tea shop in Demacia? No. What's he going to do? He's got to kill the king.
And to be fair, I don't think he has any interest, like, to your point of, like, taking down the monarchy and installing a more equal base. I don't think he has any care or any plan for what happens.
No.
I think
he just wants to take him down.
His plan ends there. I don't think he wants to install or he cares about equality. He wants to kill everyone who thinks that they're hot shit.
But that's, again, like, if we're looking at Mageseeker as, like, a part of constructing that understanding of the character... Like, that kind of runs contrary to what the lessons are that he's supposed to have learned through his journey in Mageseeker.
Yeah.
Like,
although the end of Mageseeker did also kind of roll back some of his own lessons anyway. I mean, he ends Mageseeker by telling Lux, like, hey, it's cool, like, kind of mission accomplished, but also I'm going to tear this all fucking down, I swear to God. And also, if I see Garen again, I'm going to kill him too.
He does say that.
You better get that bitch the fuck out of my way.
Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, if I said to you, hey, could you imagine Sylas not killing Garen when he's got the chance? Could you imagine him not killing Jarvan IV when he's got the chance? Like, even at the expense of other mages, you would be like, yeah, he would totally kill those fucking people. But this Sylas doesn't, and it's like, well, like I said, are we even talking about the same character, right? And it's like,
it's tough.
It's tough.
I'll give the one-time Garen a pass, because he had reason for it. He needed the help of Lux's mages. He went to meet with Lux, and Lux wasn't having it. Then he fought Garen and was like, man, if I kill him now, I'm never gonna get Lux's mages. Like, that'll be the nail in the coffin. All right, I'll let you walk this one off, but
I mean, he already does that in the comics, though. He already gives Garen a pass. This guy has now, if we take Mageseeker as canon, given Garen 2 fucking passes. At this point, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. You're gonna actually kill me? Garen's like, whatever. I'm not even gonna fight you, right? Like, right. What are you gonna fucking do?
He's basically another Katarina. He knows he'll never kill him.
Yeah. So so I don't know. There's like a big asterisk on Mageseeker for me, and I'm really like, I don't know, almost like filled with trepidation around what's going to happen with Demacia going forward. If they're just going to ignore Mageseeker, if they're going to try and make it work. I would really hope that they ignore it, frankly, because I really like the more thorny, you know, there's a complicated problem we have, like, that people are dealing with, rather than like this sort of black and white, it's just the Mageseekers, they're the source of all of Demacia's problems, and they're fucking cartoon villains. Like, don't worry about it, don't think about it. You know what I mean? Oop. But I don't know. I think that it could be Riot being like, hey, this is a big fucking problem, and we can't figure it out. Let's just, like,
Like Riot reading the landscape and realizing that Demacia is way too American, and they're like, maybe now's not the time.
Say fuck this.
It sounds like kind of what you said early on, Mark, is that they need this to also appeal to people who don't know fucking jack all about the lore. So they're like, we just need to make a different Sylas.
That's the big issue with it, right? Like, and that's why Sylas is not the leader, right? Is because he's a video game protagonist. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He is an errand boy.
Yeah,
that's okay, but I don't know.
Well, he's also mentioned in a few stories.
Okay.
He's mentioned in Garen First Shield. Basically, Jarvan is, when this takes place, Jarvan is still straight out for vengeance instead of doing any governing. He's just kind of out looking for Sylas, and the Mageseekers are gaining more power because of it, because he's not around to do any of his own work. In the Katarina comic is where we actually find out that Lux actually had to fight some Demacians to rescue Sylas. She blasted out of her home, and then her handlers are like, hey, that was magic, you're coming with us. And like one of her handlers was like, well, no, we're supposed to protect her. And the rest of her handlers were like, no, fuck that, we're taking her in. And then Katarina murders all of them.
Fuck taking her in. They're like, no, let's kill her. I think I said this. I said this in that episode that I really don't like that turn for them. Frankly, I think that's a little
it didn't
silly.
Make any sense.
But it is what it is, right? We won't get into that.
Yeah. And also, when Garen is fighting Katarina on the roof, he's injured due to his first fight with Sylas, where Sylas whipped out that Kale magic from his sword and used it against him. And also, she and Garen, the reason they call a temporary truce is because of that massive explosion in the square, and Garen's like, ooh, I gotta go save Lux from Sylas. In Shield of Remembrance, Quinn is out helping a group hunt rogue mages after Sylas's rebellion, though it seems like the first one she encounters, she does let go. Much to the kind of chagrin of her partner, but they seem to have made peace with it.
That guy shows up in another note in Mageseeker. It was fun to see him show up again.
Oh, yeah.
With his little dog Rigby or whatever,
Yeah.
I think he gets his shit stolen by a Yordle, was my read of the note.
And then finally, the Seneschal of Demacia, J3. We found out J3 ordered Sinjao away during the Mage Rebellion for an important duty. But, when he was gone, J3 got murdered. So he's like, fuck.
Whoopsie.
I guess, okay, not to get back to Mageseeker, but it is like a major fucking thing is that Jarvan IV does tell Garen, hey, my dad had this whole thing. Like, here's the order. Remember that order he destroyed in his story?
Yeah.
He tells Garen all about it. And he's like, also, I was wrong to do that. Well, he's like, that's a big fucking character change for you, my friend. It happened pretty quick. You signed it.
Like, we wanted to see it. We assumed that's the direction he was going to go.
We hope.
I could see it in that, like, you know how... have you guys ever, like, either known someone or been that person who suddenly had, like, a close friend who... was like, wow, you're kind of a dick now, and like that's the inciting incident for being like, shit, I might be a dick now. And like,
no, I've never been a dick.
I've never had anyone tell me that.
I've never made a mistake ever.
So I mean, I haven't been the person in this situation, but I have known somebody in that situation.
Was it me?
It wasn't you, no.
Was it me?
But they were actually like,
Mark, we didn't want to say anything, but you're kind of an asshole now.
But they were really good friends with my brother too, and I remember, they went to say hi to him at one point, and my brother just like completely ignored him and brushed him off, and like that was a big moment for them. Like, shit, like his brother's really nice. Like he won't even talk to me. Like.
So Jarvan's just sitting in his room like, oh man, Garen, he was just really brusque.
Like, I was assume like after Shyvana left and was like, fuck, like, because we know that J4 wants
loves that purple,
wants that dressing. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. D in this case standing for dragon, of course, wants to dragon down Shyvana. So I mean, her leaving and being like, I don't like the person you're becoming. And even if I did, in the Demacia you're creating, I can't be near you. You've created a Demacia where it's no longer even safe for me to be here. and you've created a Demacia where if I'm seen next to you, it wouldn't even be safe for you to be here. Like, I'm out. Peace. Like, fuck right off.
He comes off like such a blockhead.
He really does, yeah. But yeah, I could see it. I was okay with it. But
anyway.
But yeah, so show's been a few cinematics. We mentioned No Kings, No More Cages, which is I think the one that was listed on his
page. Yes, this is a trailer for Mageseeker.
Which, for the record, when you go to the link on the page, it's unlisted on YouTube. I think this link is kind of the only link.
Really?
It's one of those ones where, like, you know how you can unlist, something's unlisted, but if you share the link to it, people can still view it.
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you can't go to, like the
you
League
can't go
of
to YouTube
the Riot
and search
Games
for it, but you can get there from this link, which is weird. They may have, like, reposted it or, like, but yeah, this was unlisted as a surprise to me. This is just a speech by Sylas in front of wanted posters of all our friends from Mageseeker. It was a big no gods, no kings, only man energy.
Yeah.
But it was no lords, no kings, only mage.
It's also like
that's definitely intentional.
half the lyrics from Lightbringer, right?
Yeah.
I want to play Bioshock now.
They played Bioshock, and they were like, got it, done.
That sounds like a really good fucking night. Just play Bioshock with Lightbringer on repeat. Yeah. I would do that.
Then we've got Magic is Rising, Stand with Sylas, which is another rousing speech by Sylas about Demacia being built on a lie and all the noble ideas and blah, blah, blah. They're not meant for us. For too long, we mages have had to hide in the shadows. It's time we stand up and fight back. That was kind of his release trailer.
This is Elder Sylas.
I know, right? We mentioned Warriors, which is the post-Winter Claw team-up. Also, for the record, I guess kind of explains why he was not cold in this cinematic, despite having no real shirt on.
Yeah, there you go. Riot has it all figured out.
Yeah. It was nice to see Sylas kind of make good on his promise to not take it easy on Garen if he runs across him again.
Sure. Yeah, he fucked him up.
Yeah, he did.
What a great fucking cinematic.
That one's so good.
So good.
Oh my god. I so want to see I just want to see Lux being a full mage with Garen having her back. Right?
Yes. And Galio. Them accepting Galio. Like, Demacia, you can fucking do anything with Galio. Are you kidding me? Plus, Noxus, they got a big old monster now, too, alright? They're letting Scion out. You gotta get your own big old monster.
I think we said as much in the Scion episode. Scion v Galio. Yeah. The Rumble in the Jungle. Or whatever. I don't know where they fight.
Probably some empty field. I think it sounds like Noxus
has a lot of
Rumble in the big old empty field. It doesn't have the same ring to it, but it's more accurate at least.
They'll take out a jungle. I don't want to see the damage done to the wildlife there.
And then finally, he's in Almost Home, which is a TFT cinematic. He's kind of in it. So Diana is reading a romance novel that has Lunar Revel Sejuani and Lunar Wraith Sylas on the cover. It's steamy.
Yo, that guy is working his way through the fucking Winter's Claw ranks.
Yeah, damn.
He's made it.
Honestly, that's very more mother-like, though, with them just passing around this hot ripped guy.
It's very more mother-like, and it's very Sylas, starting from a priest and moving up to Sejuani.
Oh my god, I love that shit.
He's sweet-talking his way to the top.
I love it. Honestly, Sejuani Sylas is a really fun pairing.
Sure, yeah.
They're very similar.
Yes, I had that same thought actually, where you could see like maybe the reason he's going north is because his rebellion's kind of fizzling out and shit's kind of going haywire. Kind of like with her Winter's Claw shit, like we're all kind of, it's just kind of in a slow failure type situation.
Yeah. And they're both like kind of diving into darker shit in order to win at this point. Like Sejuani summoning Volibear and shit like that. Like this.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, I like to think Sylas was there for the summoning of Volibear, and maybe you just
don't mention imagine? He'd be like, what the fuck is this? No, I mean, the kids come out on heads or whatever. I don't remember what it is. They have spikes on heads and weird demon children. That's all I remember for that. And then he's just like, I gotta go back to fucking Demacia, dude. This is batshit.
You go back south.
Yeah.
So I have a few quotes here.
Great.
From him that I enjoyed. He's got a quote to Ezreal that says, "At last, I've come for you, Jarrow Lightfeather."
I'm so sorry, I don't get it.
That was when that's Ezreal's code name that he uses.
Oh.
When he's in Demacia, yeah.
Oh my god, that's great. I forgot about that.
And he's got a quote to Sona. "Discord is the best chord."
He's real punny. Sylas, they don't get into it much with him.
Right? You don't get to see the fun side of Sylas, but it's there.
You kind of do in Mageseeker. That's probably my favorite part of Mageseeker is the little fun bits with him. Oh my god.
To Twitch, "I had to eat rats in prison. Suppose I could do it again."
Ew, Twitch is a little different.
Yeah.
He's a nasty rat. You're definitely having some bowel issues after that one, sir.
Nasty rat.
Nasty rat.
When he steals another Sylas's ult, he says, "Well, this is going to be confusing."
What the fuck happens when you steal
Yeah,
a
how does that
Sylas ult
work?
of Sylas?
I have no idea.
We only
No
play
idea.
draft these days. We don't do blind pick. So I'm
No,
curious.
I will never do blind pick again now that draft exists in norms.
And then if he ever steals what's considered a mediocre ultimate, someone like a Nidalee or a Jace or something like that, he's got one that says, "Ugh, what do you even do with this?"
What happens if he steals Nidalee's ult?
I assume he gets to transform. I know they said like the goal.
He does have some model transformation.
Yeah, that like the goal is that like when you get the Nidalee ult, it should be all the things you would expect when you press like the Nidalee R, for example. So I assumed he gets like.
Could you imagine making Sylas? They had to go through every
such a pain.
fucking champion, and they still do.
I think there's a dev diary video about it that
I'm sure it was a nightmare.
Yeah, that it goes through.
They
Yeah,
were
it says
working
that
on it for
exact- that.
so long.
Yeah, man.
To the point where, like, I mean, this dips into my fun facts a little bit. But
Ooh, great.
they were working on it for so long that his original ult was Mordekaiser's ult.
Oh, the ghost
before
zone?
they reworked Mordekaiser and gave him the
Interesting.
ghost zone. But like
Oh.
they had so much riding on the Mordekaiser rework being cool, and they really liked the idea of it. They were like, "All right, you can have it," which is why he has that ult instead.
Man.
Well, I guess Sylas can have that ult still.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. God bless that QA
Thank
team.
God he does not have a lot of fucking
doesn't have a
skins.
lot of
Holy
AUs.
shit.
Oh my God, I know
This
it's
is
been
already
so
going to
long.
be like a 3-hour-long
I
episode.
know.
I'm
Right.
sorry.
All
Why
right.
is it your fault?
It's Silas's fault.
Yeah.
Being so interesting. So first one is Ages of Runeterra, Freljord. The harsh frozen north.
in the Freljord.
It is just him in the Freljord. The harsh frozen north rarely sees travelers from other lands. Those that brave its wilds are met with hostile nature and unwelcoming hordes. Lucky are the few that survive to return to the nation they call home. This is Freljord Sylas. Free from the kingdom that once imprisoned him, Sylas of Dregborn marches from Demacia to the Freljord. With every step he takes, he remembers what others have branded him. Mage, traitor, kingslayer. Names he revels in as he endures the bitter cold, his heart warmed by the fires of rebellion. It will be here, in the icy north, that he will seize the ancient power needed to fuel his revolution.
This is just Sylas later in the story.
It is,
That's
yeah.
fine.
That's what the
Oh,
that's
God,
what the
I'm
Ages
fucking
of
dumb. I'm
Runeterra
sorry.
kind of thing.
Right,
is.
okay.
That's fine. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More of these.
Then we got Project Program. Among the megastructures and packed streets of a future controlled by global corporations, a shadow war rages between rebellious augmented humans and newly empowered artificial beings. The winners will shape the course of history, and the losers will be forced to evolve. This is Project Sylas. A self-styled leader of the outcasts who live beyond the city's walls, Sylas has heeded Ash's call and rallied the renegades in defense of the city. Though his true motives are the collapse of Project and the capital surveillance state, for now he's content destroying the armies of a dangerous rogue AI. And there's a prestige skin for this one too. With the outcasts, genetic, and project itself faced with an insurmountable enemy, each faction turns to dangerous experimental technologies and long-lost robotics of a past age, hoping for an edge. Sylas, however, had a plan all along, integrating jailbroken corporate upgrades for the ultra-wealthy so he can one day turn them on project.
Okay. He's in some wild shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel bad when I don't have anything to say about the AU.
No, that's
I'm just
fine.
like, cool.
Yeah, cool.
If he had like a short story or like an interaction with another champion, that'd be more to kind of grasp onto, you know? He's just doing his own thing.
There's not a lot of short stories in his AUs.
Yeah.
He's not in the big ones.
Thank goodness for you, huh?
I know. It was rough. So we got Lunar Revel. It's time to look back, to celebrate with family and friends, to join together and remember all that has happened, the good and the bad. And as the fireworks light up the night sky, we look forward to a new year filled with wonderful memories with the ones we hold dear. This one is Lunar Wraith Sylas. The hateful lord of the lunar wraiths, Sylas has waited eons to invade the heavenly realm and depose its godly stewards. What happens to the balance between heaven and earth is not his concern. He simply craves chaos, and the hour of his triumph is fast approaching. In this cinematic, it's kind of like a half in-game, half not in-game cinematic, you know? It's called Fortune Favors the Lucky. Basically, there's like a lunar New Year envelope kind ofly that Vayne has, and a pig steals it. So she and Sejuani chase it. Sylas finds it, and he tries to catch it, but the pig's too fast, and it headbutts him right in the butt. And, and in the end, he and Vayne have a showdown, and Vayne just fucking destroys him.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that's not how that fight would go.
Yeah, it was a lot of, like, Sylas throwing cues in a straight line, and Vayne just rolling back and forth to dodge that.
Great. Okay.
That was the whole fight.
Thank God he didn't use all his dashes or any old bullshit like that.
No, he didn't use any of that shit. No, he just shot his cue over and over again in a straight line, never adjusting. It was the Sylas on your team, not the Sylas on the enemy.
Okay.
Now we've got Animatech. Humankind is on its last legs, nearly defeated by a high-tech army of deep-sea invaders called the Primordians. Enter Anima Squad, elite fighters using salvaged Primordian techs to push back against the end of the world. To save humanity, they'll have to fight like an animal. This one is Battle Wolf Sylas. Sylas is the leader of Wolf Team, a daring, ruthless strike force under the banner of Anima Squad.
Jimmy, what do you want to call your team, your group? We're the Wolf Team!
Pretty cool. Jimmy's got it figured out.
Wolf Pack. Though he rejects anyone claiming authority over him, Commander Fortune included, Sylas knows that if humanity falls, there will be nothing left to fight for.
Pretty good.
This is Battle Bunny Misfortune.
I was gonna say,
Commander.
yeah, it's the one where he's dressed like got the uwu wolf ears, right, and shit like that.
Yeah, that's basically all they did.
Fucking sweet.
It's pretty cute, actually.
And then finally, we have Fallen World. Many ages past, a great king waged a glorious war to break the shackles of magic on the world so mankind could forge its own destiny. Yet upon severing the final font of enchantment, the king was lost, the foundations of the world crumbled, and his once legendary knights were left alone to madness, ruin, and ash. This is Ashen Grave Sylas. Sylas deeply loved magic, but long years of imprisonment made him hateful. As a knight, he deigned to take as much power for himself as he could, and perhaps become a new wellspring of enchantment. Yet it was all for naught. Now only the dying shadows of magic remains, with he, its final, bitter champion.
Never seen this one, I don't think.
No, I haven't either.
Rift exclusive.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, really? Oh.
Think of all the cool ones.
Say that, just as it's rare and limited. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Because no one plays Wild Rift. I'm sure so many people play Wild Rift. And I got some fun facts for you.
I'm ready.
I love them. Yeah.
Nice. Sylas is voiced by Fergus O'Donnell.
Nice.
The design goals for Sylas were to create a Demacian villain and a champion who could steal spells. So, you got it half right. But we're all Team Sylas here. Until he killed those horses.
Yeah, fuck him. And he hit Lux. I didn't remember that.
That was after she shot him.
Well,
he was he pointed a crossbow at him, and all his followers were like gonna get her. He was like, no, it's cool. She's a friend, and they had a back and forth, and then she's like, just come with us, please. And she shot him with a crossbow. He's like, bam, you ingrate.
Anyway,
so Sylas's color palette is Demacian colors, but faded, in order to represent that his love for his country has faded, but hasn't fully disappeared.
Really?
Okay.
I feel like he loved Demacia for a solid 8 years, and then was imprisoned in the dark eating rats for 15. So maybe
he loves his country,
faded.
just not. He just wants to kill everyone. He wants to kill everyone who's in charge of it.
Hey, he still loves the stars and stripes, man. Love it or whatever.
Some of Sylas's scrapped spells from development include an ability where he would absorb any damage he took for a few seconds, then detonate it against enemies. It's basically just like old Galliowalt almost.
Oh yeah. About that.
Or set W or whatever, right? Kind of like that a little.
Yeah. He originally had Nico's Blooming Burst.
Interesting.
Is her cue.
I'm trying to imagine him be like,
right? I wonder if it was just like
he golf ball. What is he throwing?
I assume he'd maybe whip the ground and then it would explode.
He kind of does that already, though.
He does.
He does. He just doesn't. It doesn't do the 3-point burst. He just whips the ground. He had a skill shot that left a glyph on the ground that he could then detonate with another skill shot.
Huh. That seems way too complicated.
Yeah. He had a spell that would break all crowd control effects on him. He had an iteration of his current alt that would permanently mark Garen as the villain if he ever stole Demacian justice.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then... So one of the potential directions that was explored by Sylas was an escape artist mage who purposely allowed themselves to be captured by Demacia in order to prove that they could escape from any prison. But when
he was like a magician?
He was kind of a magician, but then he got arrested and then put in the Petricite shackles and was like, "Oh shit, my magic doesn't work." So he got driven insane while in prison.
I'm thinking about in Arrested Development when Job is like, "Arrest me and I'll escape your prison," and he swallows the key. And he keeps trying to get out, and the guards are like, "Should we just let him do this? I guess."
Oh my god! Can we just do that instead? Can we just erase this whole episode and let's just do that?
So he's just Job. Illusions, lies.
Illusions, Garen. Chaser with a horde desperate.
But a horde desperate money.
Oh fuck! That is such a fun idea. I hope they use something like that again. I don't know, in some way.
Please give me that champion. Oh god.
His theme song has sections from Demacia Rising throughout its duration, which is kind of the Demacia theme.
Because he still loves Demacia.
It's faded.
With swords and wings. Let's see. Okay, so we didn't cover this in the old lore section, but there is actually one change in his bio that was made. And it was made after the Lux comic, issue 3 came out. Originally in his lore, he was supposed to be hung instead of decapitated.
That's not what I
would know. Ew.
They had to change his lore. They were like, then Lux came into the prison and was like, "Oh my god."
Damn. That fun fact fucking killed Rebecca again. She actually disappeared from the camera for a second there. That's twice in this episode that she's died.
Wait, anyway.
So
Sorry,
yeah,
they killed him.
He was originally
Hanged,
supposed to be
John.
executed by
Supposed to be
hanging.
hanged, not hung is different.
Silas got a fucking hog. Just throwing it out there.
I'm gonna pee my pants. Okay, hang on.
But yeah, so he was originally supposed to be hanged, and they changed that after they did the decapitation in the comic. They're like, shit, we said he was going to be hanged. So
That was it.
That.
They just accidentally boo-booed.
Oops.
Okay.
Silas's shackles were originally built by Durand to restrain powerful demons. You're drunk.
Honestly not. I said Duran the last time you said Duran. I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to hear anything else you say on these fun facts because of the hung thing.
Silas's shackles were originally built by Durand to restrain powerful demons like Tom Kench and Evelyn. They were never intended to be used for humans. Which is why they look so fucking ridiculous on Silas. Two, they were super overkill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Durand, he doesn't seem like he would.
No, they always treat Durand as being pretty chill. Even in Mageseeker,
he's on the level.
They treat him as pretty chill.
The scar on his abdomen is the result of an operation trying to remove his magic organ. There was a short-lived theory in Demacia that mages had a magic organ somewhere below their liver. And I love that they threw in this Sawbones world building.
What the
Talk about hung.
Demacia?
He's got that magic organ, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh my, that's not even where I went.
It's below the liver, that's all I'll say. I don't know.
Liver? I barely know her.
All right, y'all, we gotta finish. It's gonna be a 3-hour episode.
On his right arm is the brand that Mageseekers burn into the skin of mages, and the other arm has the pulsing lines intended to be magic pulsing through his veins out into his manacles, because the manacles that he wears still are constantly draining his magic.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he now knows how to use them to, he now knows how to also expel the magic from his manacles.
Just take them off, Silas.
It really is just...
You're being so dramatic.
Even in the
now.
story, it mentions he seems like he'd be tall, but those manacles are really pulling him down.
Yeah, she's trying to flip him over. He's like, this motherfucker's heavy. Those manacles are fucking heavy. Well, it's a statement piece, I suppose.
Silas is one of only 14 champions that have an ability that infinitely stacks.
We've had so many of them lately.
Right.
Kind of.
Oh.
Since he can steal Cho'Gath's ult, he can infinitely stack health.
Wow. You really snuck that one in, huh?
Silas is the first champion to have a different animation when he cancels his recall. So when he starts his recall, his chains kind of throw back, and they're kind of bound to bound in stone again, kind of like they were in prison. And if you cancel his back, he rips the chains out of the ground.
Ooh, shit.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Oh.
Yeah. Silas was the first champion released in 2019. And interestingly, Lux can be seen in the background of his splash art as he escapes from his prison, which oddly makes his splash art non-canon.
That's true. It also really doesn't look like Lux. I was looking at her because I had seen that fun fact as well when I was just looking at his skins, and I was like, I guess that's Lux. I don't know.
Really? I'm curious now. I can only picture the
It's
little
pretty vague.
He's kind of reaching through the bars, no.
Yeah. Just like that. And there's
Don't
a little speech
do
bubble there.
this.
No.
There's another way. Be born rich.
Honestly, Lux, are you kidding? Oh man.
But yeah, that's Silas.
That's
only
Silas.
2 hours and 40 minutes later.
It's been a while since we've had one of these, though. You know,
this one, yeah.
It has been a while. Well, that was Silas. I'm not even going to ask for final thoughts because I think we've said them all. Thank you so much for listening, especially if you are somehow still here. We have merch, bit.ly/loreheadmerch. Lorehead merch? God damn, I said this was it's so easy. I did. And it's linked. It's easy to get there. It was shirts. We have a Twitter. It's at Loreheads. And we have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. John streams on Saturdays. He does TFT and ARAMs with viewers. And then I stream on Mondays. And we all play Summoner's Rift together. I also recently streamed Palia for the first time. I started Palia, and I might
stream Monday and Tuesday.
I am going to try to, anytime I play Palia now, I am going to try to stream it. I might play tomorrow, although, that's in the past for y'all. But there's VODs and whatnot if you want to check out some Palia, some chill streams. Hoping to do that. And we have a YouTube. We post videos of this if you want to see me die twice. That happened twice in this episode. And we post clips and shorts and things like that. And we have a Discord. If you want to join in on discussions about the lore, please join the Discord. We have a Patreon as well. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons. Big Man Gnomes, King of Hearts, Shupa Moustache, Trideca, and your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries.
You made John quote a movie that he hates quoting.
Nice. Great. And like a very common quote too, like something that like any normie,
I was gonna say I love the movie.
He was just in Ren Fair for a long time,
and so long, and I feel like you knew that deep down, Wolf Guy. But yeah, if you were a mage in Demacia and I was, not even a super powered side, I was just like a normie, I would fight the Mageseekers. I'd pull a crossbow on them, and then Cythria would be like, "Don't shoot," and I'd be like, "Say goodbye to the person who made you.
Say goodbye to your widow friends."
The person who made you. No.
Hey. Please be sure to join us next week as we talk about the Dark Sovereign Syndra.
That's her subtitle. That's so cool.